You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Naruto Enters Pokémon? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Few minutes later. Naruto was skipping rocks across the river before he heard Misty scream and ran to her. "What is the dash?" Naruto asked, seeing a Weedle in the water. "You have got to be kidding," he said as he grabbed the Pokemon before leading it back outside. "Okay, your bug's gone." He said to her, then saw she was naked and had the decency to blush seeing her body and seeing her hair is out of its ponytail. "What's the matter? See something you like?" Misty asked him teasingly. "Well, yeah," Naruto said as he checked her out. I think I do too," Misty said, seeing the tent in his pants. "Now I'm definitely wet, know if you know what I mean," she said to him, sending him a wink. "You should see my sisters, they're prettier than I am," she said, making him laugh. "That's BS, you're a 10 to me," Naruto said, making her blush. "Then show me," Misty said as she felt like she didn't measure up to her sisters in looks. Naruto quickly got his clothes off and joined her in the water. DMN, Misty thought as she thought he looked big from a distance. When she spied on him, seeing his member up close made it look even bigger than she thought. "Give you some pearls and shells, and you'd look like a mermaid," Naruto said to her. Misty smiled at that as he leaned down and kissed her. "He tastes amazing," she thought in amazement. Misty into the embraced, feeling him rubbing her peach. With B. "About time she made AF move," Bae said as she rested against a tree. "I swear," she said to herself, not understanding how she could spend time longer with Naruto and not ride him like there was no tomorrow. With Misty. Misty as Naruto leaned down and began eating on her tips as he rubbed her melons. She thought, trying to suppress a whine of pleasure. "You truly are appealing, Misty, don't ever doubt that," Naruto said as he began eating her out. Misty loudly, feeling his tongue reach ins her, immediately finding her G-spot, making her scream out in lust. The got louder as Naruto put 2 fingers ins of her PP. He's playing me like a violin," Misty thought as she trembled. Naruto bit down on her CLT, causing her scream as she clinks all over his face as she pants, trying to catch her breath. "I'm gonna die," Misty thought as Naruto just made her CLMX from FRPLY and ORL. "Guess it's my turn now, or do you wanna skip the FRPLY now?" Naruto asked her curiously. Misty dropped down until his PP was in front of her face and began stroking it. "Your hair is appealing," Naruto said to her as her hair was appealing. Misty smiles before gulping nervously as she puts the head of his PP in her mouth and tried, seeing how far she can go. "You're really good," Naruto said to her. "Well, unlike a lot of girls, I like to get a little dirty and don't mind working hard," Misty said as her sisters were rather lazy. Naruto grunted when he felt his PP hit the back of her throat as she began taking him in faster. "Wow, you're really determined to make me leak, aren't you?" he asked her. "Yeah," Misty said quickly as she wanted to have him leak as hard as she did, but it was proving to be quite the challenge. "Mind if I give you a hand?" Naruto asked her, putting his hands on her head as she was only taking in half his length. Misty in surprise when Naruto shoved the rest of his PP down her throat before he began face F her leak already, she thought in desperation, wanting to both please him and taste his juices. She didn't have to wait long as he shoved every inch of her and began leaking down her throat. "Oh Misty thought as she blushed, tasting his white hot juices as it went down her throat. "He tastes delicious," she thought, thinking his juices tasted heavenly. The mere taste of it caused her to CLMX again. "Now get on, my angel of the sea, it's time for the fun part." Naruto said to her as he lifted her up. Misty let out a scream as he just dropped her on his PP. Naruto began making out with her and rubbing her body as she got used to it. Are you okay, my oceanic beauty? He asked her, causing her to blush again. Yeah, you've got a way with words, you know that. Just give me a moment, you're huge. Misty said as she panted, trying to adjust to his size as he thirsted into her. Take as long as you need, mermaid. Naruto said to her with a smile. I get hornier every time he calls me his mermaid, Misty thought, feeling more and more excited. Naruto kissed her neck as he thrusts into her, making her loudly. He's gonna destroy me, Misty thought in pure bliss as she began gripping his back, clawing him slightly. Naruto leaned her back up and began kissing her before she screamed into the kiss as he began to leak ins of her. Misty panted in joy as she tried to catch her breath before being surprised when he began teasing her peach. You know, I bet you wear those short shorts to tease everyone with this amazing peach, Naruto said as he gave it a firm smack. If you love it so much, then take it. My merman. Misty said to him lustfully. Okay then, my oceanic angel. Naruto said to her, eating on her neck. Misty screams in pleasure, feeling him thirsted into her peach. He's tearing up my peach, she thought, as her peach had never been this stretched out before. You like it, my mermaid? Naruto asked her as she wraps her legs around his waist as he felt he shake her peach slightly. Please don't stop, Misty said, practically begging him to destroy her ins. Misty screams in bliss as he began pning her peach like a beast. Bet you wanted me to take you like I did Jenny and Joy at the Pokémon Center. Naruto said as he knew she was spying on them and felt Misty get tighter as she realized he knew she spied on him. You're a salty little PPNGTM, aren't you? He asked, spanking her peach. Yes, I'm a salty little PPNGTM, punish me please, I deserve it, Misty said as she pulled him into a kiss. Naruto started getting rougher with her as he ate on her neck, leaving a slight but noticeable hickey on her neck. Misty screams in bliss, feeling how rough he's being with her. Naruto growls lustfully as he leaked ins of her peach. How does he leak so much? He's stuffing me up, Misty thought in pleasure. Misty pants, trying to catch her breath as she leans her head against his chest, feeling at ease as she heard his strong but gentle heartbeat. Satisfied, mermaid? Naruto asked her as he petted her hair. Yeah. Misty said tiredly as she caught her breath, then realized something. You're still hard, she said in surprise. Why do you think so many women want to sleep with me? Naruto asked her as his stamina could be considered his worst enemy and his energy. Next day. Pretty sore, huh? B asked Misty as she was trying to power through a limp. Misty just blushed and stayed silent. Guys? Naruto said as at the base of a mountain was 5 grunts dressed in black while there were 2 people dressed in white, all of them having our symbols on their clothing with a Meowth. Halt, a grunt said as they released a bunch of Zubat. Halt this jackass. B said as she sent out her Makuhita. I swear this is BS, Naruto thought as he brought out Pidgeotto. We need aerial Pokemon, he thought as he brought out Pidove and Rufflet. Go Stereo, use Swift. Misty said, throwing out her star Pokemon which fired stars at the grunt's Zubats. Who are you people? B asked curiously, and then the woman with blonde hair started to sing. No, we are not singing, this ain't AF musical, she said, wanting to. Meowth, what she said, the Meowth said as he hated that. For a talking Pokemon you're stupid. Naruto said, if you can talk that would probably make people want to catch you more. He said as it was obvious people wanted rare and unique Pokemon, and what's more unique than a talking one? Screw you human, Meowth said. Naruto wanted to retort, but his Pokeballs holding his Meowthas opened and they came out. The Meowth with the bad guys had hearts in his eyes, looking at Naruto's female Meowth before his Alolan got in his line of sight. Meowth. The Alolan Meowth said, which seemed to tick him off. What did you call me, you DMN Tomcat? Meowth said as they. Vulpix, Pix Vul. Kurama said as he and the Alolan Meowth laughed. Gur, YUF walking scarf, I'll tear you apart. Meowth said as he charged at them preparing to use Scratch. Kurama said as he used Flamethrower. Meowth. Alolan Meowth said as he used Dark Pulse. Did you just lose from just 2 attacks? The woman with reddish-violet hair asked. Can we get names from the 2 beauties with the cat? Naruto asked. Jessie/Cassidy, the woman with reddish-violet hair and woman with golden hair in pigtails said together. So what's a couple of babes like you doing with losers like these guys? Naruto asked. Finally appreciation, Jessie said as she waved her hair back. Please, I'm clearly the prettier one, right? Blonde, Cassidy said winking at him. I don't know, there's something this one has that you don't. Naruto said. Ha. Jessie said to Cassidy with a grin. But then again, this one clearly has some looks. Naruto said. Ah-ha, Cassidy said as sparks were clearly seen between them. You 2 idiots, can't you see he's trying to pit you against each other? Meowth said jumping up between them. Guess he's not such a stupid weakling of a Pokemon after all. Naruto said as Kurama and his Alolan Meowth snickered, but I was being honest, he said sending them a wink. Wow, he's good. Bee and Misty thought. Iken/Rattata, the ladies in white said at the same time. Okay guys, listen to Misty and Bay, Naruto said to his bird Pokemon, let's go Ekans and Pikachu. You guys get them, I want that cat. Meowth said growling at the Alolan Meowth as the female stood behind Naruto's leg, who nonchalantly wiped his hand through his whiskers, not paying Meowth any real mind. Both Ekans stared the other down and sped to the other and began trying to wrap around the other. Ekans. Naruto's Ekin said as its tail glowed and she slammed it against the other's face only for the other to do the same thing, both of them striking the other simultaneously. I feel like I'm forgetting something, Naruto thought as the Ekans fought the other, not needing to be told anything to do. OSHT, he thought in realization. Hey Jessie, what gender is your Ekans? He asked curiously. Male, Jessie said a little confused. Oh, this makes total sense, Naruto said as both Pokemon were currently biting each other. Mind filling me in? Jessie asked, watching the violent skirmish. Ekans fight for Dems, Naruto said simply. The tail on Naruto's Ekans glowed black before smacking Jessie's into a tree. That was payback. Naruto said, knowing that move as earlier his Ekans used Iron Tail. They do it to either show superiority or, he said as both Ekans used Bind, Mate, he said as he and Jessie slowly backed away as Naruto's Ekans was female. Naruto's Ekans wrapped her tail around Jessie's Ekans' neck before raising it up and slamming it on the ground. DMN, this snake knows how to fight. Naruto thought, impressed about his Pokemon. So you have any other Pokemon or is it just him? He asked her as Pikachu was beating Rattata like there was no tomorrow. Just him. Jessie said, looking down as Ekans was her only Pokemon. Can I ask you both what the hell you are doing? Naruto asked them, wondering what the hell kinda group they were in while also activating a recorder he had in his Pokédex. We are members of Team Rocket, Cassidy said as her Rattata was unconscious. Jessie watched as her Ekans was knocked out as well as Naruto stood over it in victory. What exactly is Team Rocket? Naruto asked them before ducking as their Meowth was thrown by his as he slid down a tree as his female Meowth ran to his Alolan, who stood in victory with a smirk. We capture rare and exotic Pokemon, bringing out their true capabilities. Anything involving Pokemon from other regions showing up around Kanto, and involving making them angry? Naruto asked. Well, we did experiments using DRGS on Pokemon. A grunt said. Any of them a Fiero? Naruto asked, a vein popping on his neck. Yeah, a grunt said, letting out a laugh of pride. Okay, you just made this very easy, Naruto said with a smirk as he brought out Gyarados. Use Dragon Rage on these grunts, buddy, he said as Gyarados let out a Azure Flame. You have strong Pokemon, why not join the team, handsome? Cassidy asked curiously and seductively. Well, you two are hot, but no. There's no way in hell I'd ever join a group like yours. Naruto said to them firmly. Gyarados Hydro Pump, he said as the Pokemon blasted them, their Pokemon and Meowth sending them all flying off through the air, not knowing where they'd land. Naruto felt the egg in his backpack shake slightly. "Oh, you liked that, did you?" he asked the egg before laughing. Naruto laughed again as Rufflet and Pidove ran around him happily as if they liked watching him fight. "That was, huh? You again?" B said as she recognized the Zubat that began flying around Naruto with Rufflet and Pidove. "Little guy must have followed us," Naruto said to him as the Zubat used lick on him, covering him in saliva. "Okay, I'm convinced. Welcome to the team," he said as he heard it scream. "Okay," he said, not knowing what it said, but put it into a Pokeball anyway. "Now to Empty Moon, see what Pokemon we can find," B said happily. "Huh?" Naruto said, looking down, feeling his Cleffa pulling on his pants. "FFAFA Cleffa," the Pokemon said to him. "Huh, so this is your home?" Naruto asked as the Cleffa nodded before putting her arms out, wanting to be carried. "Ooh, I hope I found a adorable Pokemon here like this little cutie," Misty said, scratching Cleffa's chin, making her giggle. "We need to get off this mountain before we take all the DMN Pokemon," Naruto said to them. "Hey, you two caught new ones? I haven't," B said as she hasn't caught anything yet. "And that's our fault. Why?" Misty asked, making B growl. "Okay, enough," Naruto said, breaking them up before they started a fight. "Ah," B said as she saw a little sand shrew. "Oh, for the love of catch it already and let's go," Naruto said to B. "Oh, I just saw something pink going inside the mountain, I wanna see it," Misty said before running off. "Wait, ga, catch it and catch up," Naruto said to B before running after Misty. Few minutes later. "Oh my Arceus, look at how cute you are, whatever you are," Misty said, holding an adorable little pink Pokemon with red eyes. "It's called an Igglybuff, the pre-evolved form of Jigglypuff, like my Cleffa is the pre-evolved form of a Clefairy. Both of which are fairy types," Naruto said to her as she made the baby Pokemon giggle by ticking it. "So Misty, how long till we get to your hometown in Cerulean City?" he asked her curiously. "Not long. Oh, it is so cute. I'm catching you, little pink ball of adorableness," Misty said as she put the Igglybuff in a Pokeball. "There you are," B said, running over to them. Suddenly the cave began shaking as they took cover. "What's going on? A earthquake?" Misty asked. "I hope that's a Pokemon," B said in hope as that was powerful. "Maku." A sound came from down a tunnel before another shake. "It's coming from down there," Naruto said as they ran to the source. The trio stumbled upon a Makuhita punching boulders into pieces, lifting some and smashing them and tossing some like they weighed like feathers. "Maku!" the Pokemon shouted in power and a little bit of joy as it grinned, looking at its handiwork. "Yes, a Makuhita, it's a fighting type, so it's mine," B said in excitement as she ran to it. The Pokemon threw some ghost punches at her, eager for a fight. "I really need a fighting type," Naruto said as he desired a sparing Pokemon, not noticing his egg wiggled slightly. "That was some awesome power," B said, making the Makuhita puff out its chest in pride. "Come on, big guy, let me see what you can do," she said in excitement. "Are you crazy? That Pokemon could break every bone in you. Did you not see the boulder-shattering punches?" Misty said. "Think B has lost her mind challenging a Pokemon like that." "B please," B said as she was too interested at seeing what this Pokemon could to do. Makuhita had a big grin on its face, eager to fight. "Can we please stop making it grin? It's creeping me out," Misty said as its grin unnerved her. "Let's go, Mac Hop," B said, calling out her Pokemon, who cracked its knuckles in anticipation. Makuhita began bouncing like a boxer as it threw some ghost punches. "Okay, Mac Hop, use power-up punch," B said in excitement. "Mac Hop," the Pokemon said as a brown aura came over it as it punched the Makuhita in the gut, only for the Pokemon to bounce it back unaffected. The Makuhita laughed, mocking Mac-Hop. Mac-Hop walked up to him and used seismic toss, or at least tried, until he crumbled under Makuhita's weight, making the Pokemon continue to mockingly laugh at him. Mac-Hop used low kick. B said as Makuhita was a heavy Pokemon which worked into low kick's effectiveness, use karate chop, she said hitting him twice. Makuhita's fist glowed as it slammed it into Machop's gut sending the Pokemon flying into a boulder. That was revenge. B said before watching as Makuhita fell onto the cave floor, get up, Makuhita. She said wanting to ignite his fighting spirit. Makuhita was on its elbows as it looked up seeing the Makuhita laughing at him causing him to growl before slamming his fists on the ground and getting back up before starting to glow. Maea choke, the newly evolved Makuhita shouted as it pounded its fists together. He evolved into Makuhita. Yes. B said in excitement. Makuhita, the Guts Pokemon said as its fist ignited with flames which Makuhita stopped effortlessly much to its surprise. Makuhita then made his own fist ignite before punching Makuhita in the gut and sent him flying through a boulder, but before he could be sent flying he grabbed his ankles and began smashing him against the ground repeatedly. Whoa, easy Makuhita easy, stop. B said as this was just abusing power now. Makuhita looked down seeing the Makuhita groaning in pain from Mashoki's onslaught. Let's go, B said throwing a Pokeball. This is how fighting Pokemon are, Naruto said to Misty as she looked confused. The first thing we're doing when we get to town is taking this guy to a Pokemon Center. B said passing a glance at Makuhita who felt bad as she held Makuhita's Pokeball. And I got us some Moonstones, they're evolution stones for Jigglypuff and Clefairy. I got 8 of them and some Comet Shards. Naruto said to them tossing them over. Comet Shards we got some money now. Comet Shards sell for a lot of money wait I think worded that wrong. B said thinking she said that wrong. We can sell these shards at the Pokemart and get a lot of money from them, Naruto said explaining it right. Alright, we got new Pokemon, stopped the bad guys and got some neat new Pokemon and Makuhita evolved into Makuhita, what a nice day. B said happily. Day's not over yet, let's go. Naruto said before his Cleffa jumped out of his arms and ran off, Cleffa, come back. He said to which the Pokemon didn't listen. When they found it the little Cleffa was surrounded by Clefairy and Cleffable. Oh I get it, she wanted to see her parents one more time before she left. Misty said with a smile seeing the happy Cleffa. Looks like Pokemon start a journey of their own. Naruto said with a smile as the parent Pokemon said goodbye to their child. Hour later. Okay, which way is Cerulean? Naruto said. Toby tapped his shoulder and Naruto saw a message written on it for him. I'm gonna kill him, he said as the message read, Gary was here. Naruto is a loser. This Gary guy doesn't like you, does he? What's his problem? Misty asked him. He's jealous. I'm better looking, smarter, and pretty much better in him in everything. Naruto said with a smirk. Ain't Professor Oak his grandfather? B asked as Naruto often spoke about the man. Yeah, but he's let that go to his DMN head. He's got an ego the size of a Y-Lord. Naruto said as Y-Lord was quite possibly the biggest Pokemon ever. Poke Center. You have a fighting team back home? Naruto asked as B was trying to video chat with someone back home. Yeah, DMN rules about not being able to bring your Pokemon from your home region thing. B said to him a tad miffed as she missed her home team. Exceptions are made for a few people. Naruto said as people were able to carry one Pokemon from their home region when they came to a new region. You mean I could have brought one of them this whole time? B said in anger. Yeah, which one would you have brought? Naruto asked wondering if he could ask Professor Oak as the man knew everyone everywhere. That's the hard part. I miss them all, guess I'm missing Galar a bit. B said as that was her home region and the Pokemon she left back home. So where's the gym? Naruto asked Misty curiously. Few minutes later. Are you kidding me? Naruto asked in surprise as they stood outside of the Cerulean Gym seeing someone he saw on TV. Ah, you're Nessa, I saw your matches on TV back home in Galar. What are you doing here in Kanto? B asked in awe seeing a Galarian gym leader here. Wanted to become the world's best water-type Pokemon MSTR, Nessa said to her simply, she had very high C cups, athletic body, and a round thick peach, and I'm taking over because the 3 gym leaders were basically giving badges away, she said letting out a sigh. Let me guess, got beat over and just decided to give up as you didn't have any more Pokemon. Misty said as her sisters were basically performers and not actual trainers with Pokemon. Yep, Nessa said to her sisters, she asked, seeing resemblance between her and the 3. Yeah, I'm the youngest of them. Ooh, if our parents could see how you 3 have become, they'd be so disappointed. Misty said with disappointment for her 3 older sisters. So can we battle? Naruto asked her curiously. Tomorrow at noon. Sorry, I need heal my Pokemon, Nessa said to him, which he accepted. So what do you want to do in the meantime? Bee asked as she liked chill. We can stay at my place. Misty asked as she preferred to sleep on her old bed and her house was close to a nearby lake. Ain't there anything going on in town? Naruto asked curiously. Shows are on the weekends. Misty said as her sisters practiced on the lake on weekdays for the shows. Naruto looks over to the side of the building, seeing Rufflet, Pidove and Cleffa fighting over a flyer. What's this? He said, seeing the flyer about a tournament where the winner received 3 EVs and a set of evolution stones. Oh, I've always wanted an EV. Bee said as they were very cute. I always wanted a Vaporeon, Misty said in excitement. If a EV is what my angel of the sea wants, then she's getting a EV. Naruto said to her, kissing her cheek, making her smile, seeing her sisters look with jealousy. 1 hour later. I swear that fee to enter was BS. Bee said to her friends/lovers. Yeah, but if one of us wins, the prize money makes up for it, Naruto said as they paid 5,000 each and the prize was 100,000. And there's those 4 comet shards you got at Moon we still haven't sold yet. Misty said as those were a lot of money, about 30,000 apiece, meaning they'd have 120,000 sold all of them. Well, from the looks of this bracket there are 16 contestants and I'm on opposite ends of both of you, Naruto said as he was on the far right while Misty was on the far left and Bee was in the middle slightly to the left, meaning they'd fight in the semi-finals if they won their fights. Guess we got someone from Sinnoh, check out his Staravia. Bee said as they were introducing the competitors' stats and 6 Pokemon they registered. A Gulpin, a Skorupi, and a Bidoof, a Shinx and a Stunky, and a Staravia clearly not from Kanto. Naruto said as this guy had to have some connections to keep those Pokemon. What about your fracture? It's not from here. Bee asked him. Yeah, but it was born here, it has special rights. Naruto said as certain Pokemon born in a region and its native region have certain travel permissions. So what, he's visiting from his home region? Misty asked as they got a lot of people come here. Or he's on a journey. Naruto said to her, wondering about something. Well, good luck, you're gonna need it. Bee said to Misty as she would fight her before their semi-final battle. You all can watch, you still need to grow some more before you get into actual battles. Naruto said to his Rufflet, Cleffa and Pidove as they stood with Misty's Igglybuff, as they were still very young and too young to battle yet, so they stood with his Pidgeotto who was going to watch them. Pidgeotto was giving the young Pokemon looks, watching them with pinpoint bird accuracy. So what Pokemon are you using? Misty asked curiously to the others. Well, I got Pikachu, Kurama, my Alolan Sandshrew and Meowth and Fracture. What are you using, Bee? Naruto asked her. Makuhita, Makuhita and Meanful. What are you using, Misty? Bias asked. Wait, 3 Pokemon? Misty asked her. Yeah, Sandshrew is too new, but I like my odds, and besides Sock hurt his leg so he's out. Bee said as she had faith in her Pokemon and knew she had a major handicap. The trio looked as Sock was with Pidgeotto having a crutch and a cast over its leg as it waved to them. Fighting Pokemon are weird. Misty said to them. They like to fight. Naruto said as fighting Pokemon fought till they dropped or broke bones. Welcome folks to the Aqua Tournament, here at the new Cerulean Stadium. I hope you people watching from home got your popcorn ready, as this one's gonna be one to remember, the announcer said as the stadium erupted with cheers from the spectators. Oh great, we're gonna be on TV. Naruto said, liking that thought, wanting to rub it in Gary's face. Okay, everyone eyes up on the Jumbotron, so we'll see who's starting us off. Remember, the prize for the winner are 3 EV, some evolution stones and $100,000. Roll it. The announcer said as the pictures of 2 people spun around until they landed, showing who's going first. Few minutes later. And Johnny's Graveler bites the dust. Victory goes to Zack and his Poliwrath. Up next, Misty of Cerulean City vs Reggie of Veilstone City, the announcer said as the 2 trainers walked off the stage as Misty and Reggie walked onto it. How many Pokemon she got left? Naruto asked Bay as he finished his first and second matches. She's still got Tympole and Whalemare and her Chinchou, but that's it. B said as those Pokemon took major hits, but so has Reggie's. Skorupi, let's go. Reggie said, throwing out his Skorupi. The poison-type Pokemon entered the battle with a hard look as it clamps its claws. Go Whalemare. Misty said, throwing the Pokemon into battle. Let the battle begin, the announcer said. Skorupi, quick attack. Reggie said as the Scorpion Pokemon became a blur, slamming into Whalemare, making it roll like a ball. I made it to the finals, but you need to beat Misty or this guy to fight me. Hope you're ready for a rematch, Naruto said to her with a smirk. Come on Whalemare, use Hydro Pump. Misty said as Naruto helped her teach him it, as Gyarados knew the move well. Skorupi, use Protect and then use Poison Jab. Reggie said. Score, the Pokemon said as a barrier formed around it, stopping the Hydro Pump, then its tail glowed purple as it charged and jabbed Whalemare with it. Whaler groaned as its face turned a shade of purple. Oh no, it's been poisoned. Misty said in slight fear. While you're at it, Skorupi, used Toxic Spikes. Reggie said as Scorpy had potent poison. Score, the Pokemon said as it shot glowing purple spikes all over the battlefield. This guy is good, now whatever Pokemon Misty throws down next will be poisoned. Naruto said as he saw the spikes on the ground. What are her chances? B asked curiously. Unless she has a move to cause an effect like paralysis or stun, or is unlikely poison it back, Naruto said as Misty needed an advantage. Skorupi, end this with Facade. Reggie said. Skorupi glowed as it slammed itself into Whalemare, knocking the water type out. Whalemare, return. You did good, take a nice rest. Misty said to the Pokemon as she returned it to its Pokeball. Misty growled as she saw Reggie's smug face as his Skorupi stood there waiting for its next command, go Tympole. She said, tossing the Pokemon into battle. As the effects of the poison spikes kicked in, Misty smirked, now Tympole, rain dance. She said. Tympole pointed its head up as rain clouds came over the battlefield, then it smiled as its purple face turned back to normal. Tympole must have the special ability Hydration. A Pokemon can't be afflicted by status problems while it's raining. Naruto said as Misty just evened up the playing field. If Tympole is healing, her chances went up, B said, impressed by the idea. Especially since Skorupi took some damage already, and if it is weaker than the rate Tympole heals, Misty will still get on top for the next round, Naruto said to her. Skorupi, use Cross Poison. Reggie said. Score. The Pokemon said as 2 long purple blades came from the ends of its claws as it charged and crossed them like an X. Oh yeah, go Tympole, use Icy Wind. Misty said as it would be more effective given the rain. Tympole took a deep breath before breathing out cold winds. Ah. Reggie said as his Skorupi was frozen. Ooh, looks like Skorupi's out cold. The announcer said as Reggie couldn't do anything with a frozen Pokemon, so he returned him. Tympole healed a good amount, but Misty still has a disadvantage. She has 2 Pokemon and he has 5, Naruto said as he was glad she was holding her own, but 3 weak Pokemon against a full roster of somewhat weak Pokemon weren't good odds. Let's go Stunky. Reggie said firmly. Tympole, use Supersonic. Misty said, wanting to act quickly. Oh no, you don't Stunky, use your Throat Chop. Reggie said. Stunky's front paw glowed black just. As Timpole took a deep breath just for the poison type to strike it in the throat. Good luck now, throat chop disables the victim's sound-based attacks. Your Timpole won't be screaming now. Reggie said. Timpole uses a few sound-based attacks and supersonic was its best move, Naruto thought as Timpole. Stunky, use slash. Reggie said as his Stunky knew a lot of claw-like attacks. Misty gasped as the Stunky sent Timpole flying as the water and ground type slid to her knocked out. Last one. B said as Misty only had one Pokemon left. She's lucky the toxic spikes went away but so did the rain. Naruto said as rain dance was temporary as it only made the area for minutes at a time. Well, I'm waiting. Reggie said. Go Chincho. Luckily there's some water on the field. Misty said tossing the electric and water type into the water so it can swim. At least this Pokemon has a chance, B said as Chincho used a variety of attacks for both elements. Chincho, Thunderbolt. Misty said glad there were still clouds in the area. Match it with Flamethrower. Reggie said as the two attacks cancelled each other out. Chincho won't be burned luckily, Naruto said as there was enough water to shield her Pokemon. Gonna swim away. Stunky heat up the water with Flamethrower and force it out. Reggie said. Stunky, the skunk Pokemon said as it began blasting the water. Chincho, the water and electric type yelled in pain as it jumped out of the boiling water. Finish this with Dark Pulse. Reggie said. Stun, the Pokemon said blasting Chincho with a blast of dark energy. Chincho flopped onto the battlefield unconscious. And Misty's out, victory goes to Reggie, the announcer said as the crowd cheered. I'm getting payback, B said as she knew her Pokemon could handle this. If that's how you fight I can see why you're related to those trio of pathetic gym leaders. Reggie said to Misty. Well if I don't kill him you will, B said as she saw the angry look on Naruto's face. Now folks we move on to the next stage of the tournament, let's give a hand for those that remain and a big hand for those who tried their best. The announcer said as the remaining contestants of the first bracket took the stage. Half an hour later. And here we go B from Stow-on-Side City vs Reggie from Veilstone, the announcer said. And here we go, B said as she faced Reggie, hope you know if I lose he'll destroy you, B said as she pointed to Naruto. You talk big, can you back it up there barefoot girl? Reggie said. DMN right I can let's go meanful. B said tossing her Pokeball with her foot and threw it. Can never get over how flexible and how much control she has with her body, Naruto thought as he felt some his BLD go down south. Let's go Staravia. Reggie said he said throwing out his Pokemon that immediately took to the sky. Meanful use Rock Tomb. B said as she needed the bird-like Pokemon immediately. Fu, Meanful, the Pokemon said as it began tossing rocks which caught the Staravia knocking it out of the sky and trapping it on the ground. Now Stone Edge. B said needing to get the bird-like Pokemon while she still had a chance. Meanful, the Pokemon said as rocks began floating around it before shooting them at Staravia. Wow, and Staravia's out before it had a chance to counterattack, the announcer said before the crowd cheered. Did you really think I wasn't prepared for a flying type? B asked Reggie with a smirk. I swear people use those to fight fighting types all the DMN time, she said as people used them to fight fighting time at a distance. And considering he lost his Stunky last round, all he has left is his Bidoof and his Gulpin. Misty said holding her Igglybuff as the Pokemon cheered with her for B as Reggie threw out his Bidoof. Bidoof is a normal type, she has the advantage if he throws it. Naruto said as Bidoof wasn't that strong with attacks. And considering how much damage that Pokemon took last round it won't last long. Misty said with a smirk as she believed B could win. Igglybuff, the little Pokemon shouted with joy. Bidoof use Water Gun, Reggie said as Bidoof couldn't use much besides normal, water, and electric moves. Meanful use Aura Sphere. B said. Meanful gathered energy into the space between its hands creating a sphere before throwing it, making it go right through the water gun like a knife through butter. Dodge it, Reggie said as Bidoof was fast, now use takedown. Smart, Naruto said as those attacks were double-edged sword, if he uses that he can do a lot of damage but the recoil damage to the Pokemon is about half, he said to Misty. Meanful use revenge. B said as when Meanful made contact Bidoof was unconscious. Go Ghoul Pin. Reggie said. Meanful use Drain Punch. B said. Meanful's fist glowed as it made contact with Ghoul Pin. Drain Punch is a move that when it makes contact it will actually drain some of the enemy's energy and add it to the user healing it. Naruto said to Misty as that attack was a much desired one. Ghoul Pin use Ice Punch. Reggie said. SHT that'll be a lot of damage, Misty said as she knew the move. Now Ghoul Pin, Hidden Power. Reggie said. Hidden Power is a dangerous move as the typing is always different depending on the Pokemon who uses it, for all we know it could be a flying type attack. Naruto said as that attack was always unpredictable. Meanful Focus Blast. B said. Meanful gathered brown energy into its palms before launching the attack at Ghoul Pin which sent the green Pokemon flying. Ghoul Pin. Reggie said rushing over to his Pokemon seeing it was knocked out. Gulpin's knocked out meaning victory goes to B, the announcer said. Wow you're good. Reggie said to B. You owe my friend an apology as, B said giving him a look as Misty and Naruto approached. Yeah, I guess I was being a bit of a JRK. I'm sorry for insulting your gym and sisters. Reggie said rubbing the back of his head. Apology accepted, Misty said kindly. Yo ref I forfeit, B said as there was no way she could take on Naruto with her Pokemon in their current state. Later. Aw she's so cute, Misty said as she heard her EV purr. Hey give me some love. B said as she took the most feisty and rebellious one. Remember wait till they get stronger. Naruto said as he knew some Pokemon need a push to evolve or needed to go to a special place to evolve. I wonder how many forms they can change into now. B asked curiously. Like 8 evolutions EVs are the most diverse Pokemon evolution-wise, Naruto said as EVs evolve under many different circumstances from time of day to environment to weather conditions to many more factors. I hope she turns into a Vaporeon you like that swimming with me. Misty asked her EV as it licked her. Believe it or not I kinda want a Sylveon. Naruto said. A what? Misty asked curiously before getting shown a picture of a Sylveon. The newest form of EV that's been discovered it's a fairy-type form, Naruto said as his EV nibbled on a puffin. Yeah there's the 3 you see around here but there's new ones Espeon a psychic type, Umbreon a dark type, Leafeon a grass type, Glaceon a ice type and the one Naruto just talked about Sylveon a fairy type. B said as she had seen a fair share of those back home as EVs were everywhere. I want a fairy type as they are immune to dragon type attacks. Naruto said as fairy types didn't get a great rep they were very powerful given enough training. Hey, you've had that Vulpix for a long time right? Why not give it a fire stone? Or give your Pikachu a thunderstone? Misty asked Naruto. They would blast me for even offering, Naruto said as Vulpix and Pikachu had merits. Besides I don't think his Vulpix wants to evolve yet, and his Pikachu seems to not want to evolve at all. B said as she could respect their decisions as in the end it was the Pokemon's choice. I heard an Alolan Sandshrew doesn't evolve like a regular one, you gotta give it an ice stone to make it evolve, I think. Naruto said as all Pokemon had different requirements. Alolan Sandshrew walked over and touched the stone and evolved instantly into Alolan Sandslash. Watch the spikes, B said as unlike a regular Sandslash with a pointy hair this one had spikes made of ice on its back that pointed back. Check out what an Alolan Vulpix looks like, they're ice types as well. Naruto said showing them a picture with his Pokédex. When Kurama saw the picture hearts came over his eyes loving the picture of its ice-type counterpart. Why is Kurama black though? B asked curiously. No clue, Naruto said as Oak had a hard time figuring that one out as he believed Kurama was a Alolan but a regular Vulpix as well. He's sure loving that picture though. Misty said. Maybe because it's different like he is. Naruto said, scratching Kurama's chin as it did nothing to stop the hearts in his eyes. Well, we better get some sleep. Naruto has his match against Nessa in the morning. Misty said as she sighed as they made it to her house. Alright, you all go play. Naruto said to his Pokemon, letting them out to do whatever they wanted to do. They seem to be enjoying the lake, B said as the Pokemon minus Chameleon and Houndour were in the water. Frax. Fracture said as he played Marco Polo with the little ones. Pidgeotto enjoyed a tree, perching himself on a branch, and soon felt the small birds cuddle up to him as they quickly took a nap, making Pidgeotto sigh as he wrapped his wings around them to keep them warm and secure. They watched as Gyarados used his body like a slide for some of the Pokemon as they jumped into the water. Naruto smiled as even the egg shook slightly. Wish you'd hurry up and hatch, little guy, he said, wanting to meet the Pokemon in this egg as soon as possible. Suddenly the egg began glowing, getting everyone's attention as they went over to watch as the egg began hatching, and when the light died down they saw a Riolu which had yellow fur instead of blue. Rio, the newborn Pokemon said as it blinked its eyes, still seeing everything a bit hazy. It's a shiny Riolu. Naruto said, which seemed to make the newborn react as it turned to him as its vision began to clear. Riolu, the Pokemon said happily. Isn't it said that the first thing a Pokemon sees it assumes it's its mother? B said happily as everyone human and Pokemon moved away from Naruto. Kinda jealous you got that Pokemon. When it evolves it's a skilled fighter, she said as Lucarios were considered the best Pokemon as it was said they could connect with aura, a mystical energy, better than any other Pokemon. Riolu, the emanation Pokemon. It can discern the physical and emotional states of people, Pokemon, and other natural things from the shape of their aura waves. Naruto's Pokédex said, alert, this Pokemon has the egg moves Blaze Kick, Circle Throw, Bullet Punch, Meteor Mash, Cross Chop, Iron Defense, Sky Uppercut, and Bite. This Pokemon is a male, the Pokédex said. Wow, you're something special, aren't you? You're gonna be one badass Lucario one day. Naruto said, rubbing the top of Riolu's head. Wow, its parents must have been really strong for it to know all those egg moves. B said. Hey, isn't Blaze Kick the signature move of a Blaziken? Naruto asked as he pulled it up. Guess one of your parents was a Blaziken. He said to the Riolu. Oh, I've always wanted a Blaziken. B said as it was an amazing fire type. Oh, and an Imbor, she said with a grin. Anything that's a fighting type you want. Naruto said to her. What's all the commotion? A golden blonde woman said, coming out the house. She had mid-DD cup melons and athletic body and peach. Nothing much, Daisy, just a Pokemon egg hatching. Misty said. Aw, we missed it. A girl with blue hair. Sha had low DD cup melons, athletic body, and round peach. Yeah, Violet, Misty said to her other sister. Hey Lily, she said to her other sister with pink hair, high D cups, athletic body, and a bubbly peach. Hey little sis. Lily said. Oh, it's so cute. Daisy said, but Riolu turned away, trying to dig deeper into Naruto's side. Careful, he just hatched, so we don't want to terrify him. Naruto said as his Pokemon tried to say hello, but it was scared of them as well. Ah, shy little guy. Misty said, finding the newborn even more adorable. Cleffa, Clef. Cleffa said, getting Riolu's attention. Rio? Riolu asked curiously. Pikachu, Pika, Pika, Chu. Pikachu said to Riolu as all the Pokemon smiled at the newborn. Rio? The newborn said as it stepped away from Naruto. See, they're your family just like I am, there's nothing to be afraid of, Riolu. Naruto said as he knew being small and crowded didn't seem fun. Rio, the newborn began yawning as it rubbed its eyes. Guess hatching out of an egg can wipe you out, come on, time for bed. Naruto said as he took out a Pokeball, and Riolu looked at it curiously and pressed the white button and was zapped with a red beam. Next Rufflet began yawning, then Pitto, followed by Igglybuff and Cleffa. Alright, we all had fun, but today was a little tiring, everyone take a nap, Naruto said, hearing Absol let out a loud yawn, easily mistaken as a roar to agree. Yeah, you all earned it, especially you, Sock. you need to rest so you can heal that leg of yours, B said as Sok was quickly healing as she was treating him with super potion and had him checked by Nurse Joy. Alright, whoever doesn't want to sleep in their Pokeballs, go out and pick a nice spot to sleep close to the house, Naruto said to the Pokemon. Few hours later. Who the hell is messaging me this late, Naruto thought as he was sleeping on the couch as saw a message from Misty which said, get into my room ASAP, and an image attached was their panties-clad peaches. Naruto walked into the room immediately to see B behind Misty massaging her melons with one hand and fingering her with the other. Don't just stand there merman, come and join the fun, Misty said as she was from BEA's assault on her body. Alright then, Naruto said as he locked the door and took off his clothes. I saw the reaction you had when I used my feet during the tournament, bet it really turned you on, huh? B said with a smirk, I bet you love bending me in every direction, she said as Naruto loved her flexibility and she loved the challenge he gave her during SEC. Actually, I bet he'd love feeling those feet around his PP right now, Misty said. Let's find out, B said, not letting go of Misty as she maneuvered her feet and gently gripped his PP and jerked him off. DMN these feet, Naruto said as they were firm but soft. Knew you'd love M, B said with a smirk as she began kissing Misty, increasing her grip on her melons and fingering pace. I love this, bet you wish to watch me dominate your sisters, wouldn't you Misty? Naruto asked her curiously. Yes, F them, they're nothing but spoiled bees, Misty said as she'd love to see Naruto turn them into SLTS. Oh baby, cover her body with your thick warm juices. Shoot it all over, paint her body white, B said as she knew Naruto's juices would cover Misty and maybe her feet. She didn't have to wait long as Naruto began leaking all over Misty, basically showering her in it, with some of it on her feet. I swear this never stops tasting so good, Bae said, hearing Misty slightly whimper, wanting to taste the juices. Here, you can clean my feet but you have to work for his juices, now lick your mistress's feet, she said, not even needing to move her body as she brought her feet to Misty's face. That is hot, Naruto said. Well, someone needs to be in charge of your HRM and this one is way too SBMSSV, B said with a smirk as Misty's kissed her juice-covered feet. Misty into BEA's feet, feeling Naruto rub himself against her. Can't help but join in the fun, Naruto said as he gently rubbed his PP against her kitty. You must want it badly, don't you? B asked Misty teasingly as she was massaging both her tips. I know I do, I just want to ravage her, Naruto said. What's stopping you? B asked him coyly. I mean, come on, look at her, she said, looking at Misty's panting and drooling. She's very desperate, willing to do anything for release, she said with a perv grin. True, Naruto said before shoving himself into Misty's PP. Misty loudly, feeling him going into her PP. Naruto raised her legs, putting them on his shoulders. I swear Misty, B said, pinching her tips, you are so desperate for pleasure. What should we do with you, she said as she knew Misty would do just about anything to get pleasure. Maybe we should have you pleasure us while we F like a good little bee, she said to her. Who cares as long as we're getting some action, Naruto said as he and B kissed. Misty screamed in bliss as she felt Naruto hit her G-spot hard. I swear you basically CLMX from our touch, B said, smacking her peach. Misty began panting lustfully as Naruto began to rapidly hit her G-spot. No wonder you like water Pokemon, you seem to have your own water attack, B said as Misty had orgasm after orgasm. Naruto grunted as he began leaking in of Misty's PP. Am I next handsome? What position do you want me in? B asked curiously. Wanna sit down and eat my PP while I do you? She asked as Naruto could sit up and she could shove her PP in his face. Naruto pushed her onto her back and bended her legs until her feet were right beside her head as he shvees himself into her peach, all while his body is pressed against her own. SOO, the fold is it? B said loudly, feeling him destroy her peach. Did I hear you stutter? Naruto asked her with a smirk as she blushed, slightly embarrassed. B was having a hard time talking with how rough Naruto was plowing into her peach. You want to be my MSTRS don't you? Naruto asked her, slapping her peach. B tried to say nothing, but Naruto continued to spank her peach. Yes, she said as she clenched and kept feeling his PP reach deep into her lowers. I wanna be your biggest SLT, I wanna be your top B, she said as she began to feel her peach wrap around his PP tighter. Naruto leaned down and kissed her as he began leaking in her lowers. B panted as she basked in the afterglow of their love-making. You wanna prove how badly you wanna be my MSTRS? Naruto asked her, seeing her perk up quickly. Yeah. B said quickly as she looked at him and panted like a dog in heat. Naruto chuckled seeing B like this. Then here's what you're gonna do, he said as he whispered into her ear. B and Naruto grin as they began typing Misty's arms behind her back as they get her on her knees. B grabs Misty's face and shvees it into her peach. Go on SLT, clean out my peach of Naruto's juices. You know you want it, so do it, she said dominantly. Naruto smirked as he began to FBEA's tips. Yeah, clean her out and maybe as a reward I'll juice all over your face as well, my mermaid, he said with a perv grin. B smirked as she ate the tip whenever it got close to her mouth as he her melons. You must feel bad, B, can't taste his PP when you're eating my peach out. Well, hurry the F up if you want to taste his juices, she said, dominantly squeezing his PP with her tips, wanting more of his juices. Yeah, on mermaid, don't you want it? Naruto asked her teasingly. Yes, yes, I do, Misty said, wanting to taste his warm juices more than anything in the world. Then get on, B said as she got on her knees beside her and forced her mouth open. Nice, Naruto said with a lustful smirk as B kept Misty's mouth open and he hosed them down with his juices. B pulled Misty into a kiss as the two tasted his juices on the other's tongue. Unknown to the three, the walls were very thin and Misty's sisters were hearing everything they were doing and couldn't help but mstriptee to their F session. The heat and emotion of their little session made them all corny and felt themselves feeling extremely hot. We need that stud, the three sisters thought as they had all been virgins for years, and knowing their youngest sister had slept with him at her age made them all longing Naruto as if Misty's were anything it showed he knew what he was doing. As Misty laid on the bed panting, she smirked as she could hear her sisters coming from their room. I know what to do with them, she thought in lust as she wanted to punish her sisters for what they had done and make them submit to her man till they were bigger SLTs than she was. Next day. Did you guys know Nessa is a model? B asked them as they walked to the stadium. Are you her fan or something? Naruto asked her curiously. More like keeping my eyes out for competition. Me and her are like fire and ice, B said as she saw Nessa as a rival. Well, considering how much you look up at her, something tells me you'd rather be looking down at her, Naruto said with a light chuckle. I wouldn't mind, Nessa said as she was waiting for them. Thanks for the permission, B said as she looked at Nessa. So how do you want to do this? Naruto said as he had brought Gyarados, Pikachu, Alolan Sandslash, Fracture, Timpole, and Absol. Well, how's about a 3-on-3, and normally I use a trick exclusive to Galar, but I don't think I'll use it here, Nessa said to him. Trick? Naruto asked her curiously. It's called Dynamaxing, but I probably wouldn't want to destroy the stadium now. Dynamax? What's that? Misty asked B, hoping for a little context. You make your Pokemon giants, and with certain Pokemon you can grant them a Gigantamax form. It's very exclusive to Galar. Like how Z moves are on Alola and Mega Evolution is on Kalos, B said as people were developing and finding out more and more about Pokemon. She uses water Pokemon exclusively, so my best bet to start with is Alolan Sandslash, Pikachu, and Gyarados. Naruto thought as he did his research and knew Nessa was strong and fought using pure strength. They entered the stadium and saw the giant pool made especially for water types, as it had some floating platforms for other Pokemon. Meet a Galarian Pokemon, go Arrokuda, Nessa said. Arrokuda, the rush Pokemon. If it sees any movement around it, this Pokemon charges for it straightaway, leading with its sharply pointed jaw. It's very proud of that jaw, Naruto's Pokédex said as he scanned it. So it's built for speed. Naruto said as he knew this would be difficult as his Pokemon weren't as fast as that. Okay Timpole, let's go, he said as that was his only Pokemon that could keep up with it. I heard you had a red Gyarados. I was expecting you to use that, a shiny Timpole, Nessa said to him plainly. And I was expecting you to bring your A game, but I guess we're both testing the waters, Naruto said to her. Arokuta, Aqua Jet. Nessa said to her Pokemon. Timpole use water gun, Naruto said as that was his best strategy to take on the speedy Pokemon. Timpole tried to attack but Arokuta was faster than it could attack. Use hypnosis, Naruto said as Timpole could use it from a distance and just needed to see the enemy Pokemon. Timpole tried to use it but Arokuta wouldn't sit still long enough for it to use it. Arokuta use Crunch. Nessa said. Arokuta's natural speed played well as it was on Timpole in an instant and already had its tail in its mouth. Timpole. Naruto said as he saw the Arokuta dragging Timpole around. I gotta slow that thing down, he thought in urgency. Typole, the Pokemon shouted as it began glowing. Kuta, the Rush Pokemon said as it closed its eyes due to the bright light. Palpitoad. Nessa said knowing its evolution. Palpitoad, the newly evolved Pokemon said as it got out of Arokuta's mouth. The new Pokemon stood happily on the platforms. Aqua Jet, Arokuta. Nessa said quickly. Palpitoad did nothing as it took it, but instead of getting hurt it seemed to be healing. You have the special ability Water Absorb, you get healed when you're hit with a water attack. Naruto said surprised. Palpitoad said soaking in all the water. Okay, this just got interesting. Nessa said as all of her water attacks were now rendered useless and now had to stick to her Pokemon's physical attacks. Okay, then Arokuta used Drill Rush. Nessa said. Palpitoad, Supersonic, Naruto said as he knew Palpitoad knew it in his pre-evolved state. Just as Arokuta was in front of Palpitoad, the frog-like Pokemon unleashing a loud croaking which knocked Arokuta back, making it land on one of the platforms as it flaps around in its confusion. Now use Power WHP. Naruto said. Palpitoad, Toad, the frog Pokemon said as its tongue began glowing as it smacks Arokuta until it got knocked out. You fought well, Nessa said as she took her dive ball out and returned Arokuta. Good job, Palpitoad, why not take a break? Naruto said as he could tell Palpitoad was a little winded and with Water Absorb that made him his best choice to win this. I say you're worthy of my ace Pokemon, want to up the stakes a bit? Nessa asked him. Sure, what do you got? Naruto wondering what she wanted and was willing to wager. If you can defeat it, I'll give you the Cascade Badge. Nessa said with a smirk. I get that for beating you anyway, Naruto said to her. Yes, but can you defeat a Dynamax Pokemon? Nessa asked curiously. Okay, what do I get if I win, cause I don't understand what you want? Naruto asked her. I want to see how you stand up against my Dynamax Dreadnought, so you got anything if I lose? Nessa said fully confident. If I win I get a date. Naruto said with a smile. UPP, what about us? B said as she was pissed as sure they traveled and trained together she still desired romance. What, got nothing more to add if you win? Nessa asked curiously. You are a strange one, bold, but still strange. Aren't you curious to what I want if I win? She asked him curiously. Okay, shoot. Naruto said to her. If I win I get that red Gyarados, Nessa said. What? Naruto said in surprise. Oh, it is on. I don't intend to lose. Let's go, buddy, Naruto said, bringing out Gyarados. Flood the stadium and make it our ocean. Dreadnought, time to Dynamax. Nessa said as she made her dive ball grow and tossed out AF huge Dreadnought. The Pokemon was standing on its back legs and had half of its head in its shell. OF, Naruto said, seeing the water level rise. Gyarados gulped as the giant Dreadnought stared down at him. We got this, buddy, Naruto said as he knew Gyarados had some power attacks like Hyper Beam. Time to see if that training pulled off. Use Thunderbolt. He said. Dreadnought chuckled as the electric attack hit its nose. Gyarados felt terrified seeing its attack do nothing as it felt like it was in its pre-evolved state again, feeling helpless, and then became enraged as it hated that feeling of not being able to act. Use Power WHP, it's a water and rock type, so that should hurt like hell. Naruto said, bringing a smirk to Gyarados' face as it did as his friend suggested, and made its whiskers glow as they extended and began slapping the Dynamax Pokémon. Dreadnought was forced to take a few steps back from the blows. He's actually forcing that thing back. B said in surprise that Gyarados, who was fighting something that made him look like a cater pie, was pushing something back. Gyarados into the air, it's so big it can't hit a moving target. Naruto said. Try and bite it, Dreadnought. Nessa said to the giant Pokémon. Use Dragon Rage, Naruto said as Gyarados, as angry as he was, should make the power of that attack intensify. Gyarados fired an attack, but it wasn't Dragon Rage, it was Dragon Pulse. Dreadnought groaned as the attack made an explosion, causing it to take 2 steps back. Slam it with an iron head. Naruto said as he had to keep the attacks going while Dreadnought still recovered. We better move up a few levels, B said as she and Misty were in front row seats and ran. Dreadnought groaned as the attack forced it back. Now Hyper Beam. Naruto said. Gyarados roared as it fired a black beam that made Dreadnought slide across the stadium before making it fall right through the front row seats. When the smoke cleared in, the rubble was a regular Dreadnought twitching as it was knocked out. Gyarados roared in victory, basically saying, "Screw you. I can't believe it, not many have managed to defeat my Dynamax Dreadnought before. I knew that by risking one of your Pokémon your true fighting spirit would get out as you needed to win. You have earned this badge." Nessa said with a smile as she held up the water drop-like badge for him. Don't we have like one more battle? Naruto said sarcastically. Nobody has ever beaten that Pokémon. Beating a Dynamax at such an early start to your career as a Pokémon trainer, that proves that I would have lost anyway. Nessa said as she knew when she was beat and with the power. You weren't really gonna take my Gyarados, were you? Naruto asked her curiously. Nope, just aroused to get you to fight harder and body. Did you ever? Nessa said in amazement. Gyarados roared once more in victory. Say it, big guy. Naruto said with a laugh. But I did lose, seems like I have to keep my end of the bargain, Nessa said with a smirk. Oh hell no, get in line. B said angrily. How about I take you all out? Naruto said, cooling Bea's temper. I'm good, B said, going back to sitting back and chilling. Simple-minded that one, Nessa said as B gained a tick mark. Jeez. Naruto said, rubbing his face as the two growl at each other. And I thought me and my sisters were bad, Misty said as the two had sparks appear between them. Cool if I join your group? Nessa asked curiously. Which one are you referring to? Misty asked, feeling like she needed to ask that. Hey, since you brought up your sisters, where the hell are they? Naruto asked as the trio of sisters weren't anywhere in sight for the whole match. No idea, Misty said as her sisters always like to watch a good show. Later. Are you two gonna keep fighting? Misty asked curiously as they went on a simple date with Naruto to get something to eat, and B and Nessa were continuously glaring at one another as they ate. I'm just defending my man. Staking my claim, B said simply. Who said he was just your man? Seems like there's plenty of him to go around to me. Nessa said. Yeah, well, I staked my claim first, B said with a smirk. Would it kill you two to just get along? Naruto asked as this was getting annoying. It very well might. Nessa said with a smirk. See, we can agree we won't get along, B said simply. Well, if you wanna travel with us then you gotta get along, otherwise it won't work. Naruto said. Both girls just glared at one another but remained quiet. I swear I'm tempted to lock you two in a room until you get along. Naruto said, actually contemplating the idea. Bet they'd be naked when you go to check on them. Misty said as there was a fine line between love and hate. They probably would. Naruto said as hate only went so far. I wouldn't sleep with her. B yelled, pointing at Nessa. Yeah, you would. Both Naruto and Misty said at the same time as B was by SXL and was constantly corny all the DMN time. I wouldn't object to the experience. Nessa said with a SNSL smile. Okay, where the hell are your sisters? They were supposed to meet us here. Naruto said, getting tired of waiting for Misty's sister to show up. No clue, let's just eat without them, B said as she was hungry. They enjoyed their food as Naruto fed Riolu a special brand of Pokémon formula made for baby Pokémon as the others ate. You look like you have this dad thing down. Misty said as the girls saw this as a desirable trait. Not my first time with baby Pokémon. Naruto said, remembering the babies he'd take care of back at Oaks Ranch growing up. How long till he's like grown? B asked. No clue, they are dogs, they age faster than humans, Naruto said to them. Also B, you are not sparring with him, he said firmly as he knew she wanted at the Pokémon. Who cares as long as you raise them? Misty asked as she held Igglybuff, who was playing with a napkin. But the problem is a lot of times trying to keep them out of trouble is a major problem. Naruto said as newly born Pokémon were difficult as they were very curious about everything. I see what you mean. Misty said as she pulled the napkin away as Igglybuff tried to put it in its mouth. How's Dreadnought doing? Naruto asked Nessa curiously. He'll be fine, nothing a couple of hyper potions can't fix. Nessa said as Dreadnought was very eager to train. That's good to hear, Naruto said as he enjoyed battling. He hated Pokémon being too hurt to do anything. Must be nice to have Pokémon from back home. B said, seeing the little ones playing with Dreadnought and Arokuta. B, are you homesick? Naruto asked her coyly. Duh. B said simply. Well, I put in a call to Professor Oak earlier and he can pull a few strings for you, Naruto said as she tackled him and stuck her tongue down his throat. Well, this dinner just got better. Nessa said while the other Pokémon covered the little one's eyes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. B said repeatedly, basically dry humping Naruto. Yeah, he convinced the professor back in Galar to send your Pokémon here. Naruto said with a smile as she kissed him again. Awesome. B said happily. He said they should arrive by tomorrow morning. Naruto said as they'd arrive in Pallet Town and then transported to her here. That was good. Misty said as she wiped her mouth before doing the same to Igglybuff as did B with Sandshrew. I can't wait till you evolve, you'll be awesome, B said to Sandshrew, who let out an adorable purr. So Naruto, what was it like growing up in Pallet Town? Nessa asked. Not bad, I mostly studied under Professor Oak, learning everything I could before leaving for my journey. Naruto said. And what's with the fancy charm? Nessa asked, pointing to his shiny charm and the bracelet. Good luck birthday present from my mom. Naruto said as the necklace and bracelet were special to him despite the sentimental value. How was it like growing up with your mom? B asked curiously. She's actually my adopted mother, but she's the best mom you could ask for. Naruto said with a smile. No dad? Nessa said as B kicked her under the table. I did actually, but he disappeared when I was 8. Naruto said as he disappeared without a trace. Who was he? Misty asked. The global champ, Red. Naruto said as the girls did a spit take. What the hell? B said as she gasped for air as some fluids went down her windpipe and she coughed. The missing former Kanto champ is your dad? Misty said as her mouth was agape. Yep, Naruto said as he wondered what happened to his father. He took out his wallet and showed them a picture of him and Red along with Pikachu when he was a Piku and Red's own Pikachu. Why do you continue to persist? A psychic Pokemon asked a man as he was trapped in a sphere and the man was chained up. Because I can't give up, because that'll mean they win, the man said out loud. Pika, a Pokemon chained next to the man, said in agreement despite feeling weak. Oh please, you will never escape, a man in a well-dressed suit said. Never say never, as the man said to the other. Still as much of a pain as when we met. Alright men, bring it in. The prisoners watched as they saw a fortified metal box enter the room, electrical current sparking off of it and loud screeches that sounded like that of a bird. "Why do I feel like things got worse?" the man said simply. "Because they have," the well-dressed man said as he left. Pika Pi, the Pokémon next to the man said, getting his attention. "Zapdos? Oh no, if they have it, who knows what they'll do next?" The man said in fear as the power coming off the box increased. "We need to release you both. The longer they have you, the more screwed the world is," he said to the psychic Pokémon. "And why should I trust a human?" a voice said coming from the box. "You doing this?" the man asked the psychic Pokémon as it sometimes made his Pokémon able to communicate. "Yes, let us discuss," the psychic Pokémon said as they all conversed. "Woods. This mist is thick as pea soup," Naruto said as they walked. They couldn't see more than a few paces in front of them. "Glad you're holding my hand, Naruto," Misty said, feeling safe. "Misty, that's not my hand," Naruto said to her. Misty looked down to see she was holding Charmeleon's hand. Charmeleon said, saying hi before Misty let go. "Okay, where the hell are we?" Bee asked them. "I don't know, but it feels like we've been walking in circles," Naruto said. "Yeah, this fog is so thick you could cut it," Bee said. Charmeleon jumped into the air, swiping at all of the fog. "Charmeleon, stop, it's a figure of speech," Naruto said, chuckling. "I think we need a break," Bee said, as walking and not seeing was pointless. "I could make us something to eat. Mom and Dad taught me how to make things using a campfire. But I need firewood," Naruto said as Chameleon used swipe his claws, cutting down nearby branches. "Mel. Charmeleon said, getting their attention as he pointed forward, seeing a light in the distance. "Another campfire?" Misty asked. "I don't think that's a campfire, looks like a bunch of lanterns," Naruto said. "Who in their right mind would be out in this stuff?" Bee asked them. Naruto and Misty said, giving her a look, wondering if she realized what she just said. "Besides us," Bee said, realizing they were out here and using Chameleon as a light. When they walked over, they found kids in suits talking to a kid on a treadmill while holding candles before the kid tripped and fell. "Yo Jackass, where do you get off?" Bee said, angrily looking right at them. Charmeleon, Pikachu and Kurama growled at them, angry at seeing them bullying that kid. "We don't fight," the kid with red hair said. "Fighting is for cavemen, this isn't the Stone Age, you know," the kid with green hair said. "And if we wasted our time having a fight with a little insect like you, it'd just make Pokémon Tech look really bad," the kid with long dark hair said. Electricity gathered in Pikachu's cheeks as Chameleon's tail fire burned hotter. Hearing them insult their trainer/friend like that. "We'll see you back at the Tech, Joe," the kid with green hair said to the kid who tripped as the group walked off. "Pokémon Tech, Mom just called it a school for smug rich kids who think they're better than everyone," Naruto said as he heard of the school and had a hard time believing it was ever approved. "You heard of it?" Misty asked him. "I got a flyer that asked if I would apply, but Mom just tore it up as she hates the place. Says it just makes you stupid, arrogant and really unprepared for your journey. Besides, where's the fun in going to a place like that when you can get the gym badges and go to the Pokemon League like you earned it," Naruto said as he wanted to earn his place, not buy it. As they talked, Pikachu checked out the treadmill before accidentally turning it on, forcing him to start running on it. "Where is this place anyway?" Bee asked and suddenly felt like she asked a stupid question. "Right in front of us," Joe said to them. Suddenly the fog cleared and showed the school right in front of them with the pool to their side. "Today's special class, Fog Battle Techniques, is now ended. Tomorrow's lesson will be snow competition secrets," a woman over the PA system said. "Oh well, guess tomorrow they'll make me into a snowman again," Joe said sourly. "Do they treat you like that all the time?" Naruto asked, feeling his temperature rise. "My friends are just trying to help me," Joe said. Kid, I must have something in my ears. As did you just call them friends? With friends like those, who needs enemies?" Bee asked as she would have put the smackdown on them. "But they helped me learn that Pidgey evolves at level 18 and learns Dash," Joe was saying until Naruto interrupted him. Okay kid, you can stop with the Pidgey line stuff, I already know this, Naruto said, as growing up with a Pokemon researcher taught you a lot. If you knew all that Pidgey stuff, then why not just tell them that? Misty asked him, wondering why he pretended not to know. Because, sometimes I pretend not to know the answer, because when I do they make the questions that much harder, Joe said, as he didn't want to make his situation worse. Starting to remember all the reasons Mom hates this place, Naruto said, as he had a couple of his own. I have to stay here, my parents worked hard and saved a lot of money, so they could pay to send me to school here. Joe said before pointing at some guy reading a book under a tree. You see that guy? He's an upperclassman, the classes are so hard here, some students are held back for many years. Everyone's too ashamed to go home without a diploma, and he's in the beginner class with me, he said. For real? He looks old enough to be someone's dad, sorta, Naruto said, as the man looked very old. You're a beginner? Misty asked curiously. Beginners have the same qualifications as someone with 2 badges, Intermediate Class 4 and Advanced 6, and if you graduate you can enter the Pokemon League, Joe said. Dude should just leave and be a trainer on his own before he dies of stress, B said, as this school seemed very dumb in her opinion. Take it from a gym MSTR and gym MSTR in training, this is all BS, she said to him. What do the teachers say about all this? Nessa asked, finally speaking, as she was a gym leader and wanted to know what they did when this happened. They don't know about it, or if so they pretend not to, Joe said to them. Ooh, this place is one messed up SHT hole. Now I remember why Professor Oak agreed with my mom about not coming here, Naruto said. What student is in charge of this SHT? I want to give him or her a piece of my mind, he said, as his Pokemon agreed, wanting to roast or claw them. Here's a picture, Joe said, holding a picture of a girl. It's a girl? Misty said, surprised by how young she seemed. Well, she's not ugly, but Mom always said that pretty girls don't always have pretty attitudes. It's what on the inside that counts, Naruto said, as he wasn't sure, but he saw something behind her eyes. If she's so mean, why are you carrying around her picture? B asked him. I hate the way she treats us, but I like the way she looks, Joe said, making them face vault. That is shallow, but I can't tell who's shallower, Naruto said, as he wondered which was worse. Well, I want to give her a piece of my mind, Misty said. No way, Misty, my guys over here have dibs, Naruto said to her angrily, as his Pokemon agreed, wanting something to fry and or slash. Few minutes later. Giselle always practices here by herself, Joe said, as they were very insistent on finding her. Geez, does everything you do here virtual? Naruto asked, as he thought this was a load, as it didn't even feel close to real. See here, it's your skill as a Pokemon trainer that counts more than winning in any one battle, Joe said. Well, I have 2 gym badges, and let me tell you, I put a lot of effort and sweat into getting them, Naruto said, as he showed his badges. But Giselle is the top beginner around here. That's better than even having 3 badges. I may be at the bottom, but I'm still stronger than someone with 2 badges, Joe said, going off the logic that he was taught. Time to see what nature versus nurture looks like, kid, and trust me, nature wins always in cases like these, Naruto said to him. Let's get to school, B said to Nessa, who agreed. If you think that just because you have a grass type that it means that you can just as easily beat the water type Cerulean Gym, then you're sadly mistaken, kid, Misty said, as it wasn't always about the type of Pokemon. Experience played a huge role in it also. Okay, fine, my Weepinbell versus one of your water types, Joe said to her, as he was. Yeah, hang back, dude, I have dibs, Naruto said to him, as he grabbed Scyther's Pokeball, but instead of Scyther coming out, his blue Psyduck popped out. Psyduck said, tilting his head. What's up, Psyduck, you wanna go at him? Naruto asked him, getting a nod. Duck, Psyduck said, as he walked onto the battlefield. Okay, Weepinbell, let's go, Joe said. Bell, Weepinbell. I swear, does dibs mean nothing anymore? Naruto asked, wanting to see how this train wreck went down. What are you talking about? It's your Psyduck, Misty said, as Psyducks were not very powerful, not counting their explosive tempers if they were too stressed. Yeah, but Scyther was raring to go, Naruto said, as his Pokemon liked action. Okay, Weepinbell, start off with Vine WHP, Joe said. Dodge and use Zen headbutt, Naruto said to him. Psyduck bounced around the vine WHP attack before psychic energy gathered around his head before slamming it into Weepenbell. Use water gun, Naruto said to him. Duck, Psyduck said as he soaked Weepenbell sending it flying. But grass types are stronger against water, Joe said. Which is why water-type Pokemon know how to use ice-type moves. If I did that I would have won by the first hit, Naruto said as Psyduck knew Ice Beam. He's right and clearly his Pokemon have more battle experience than yours, Nessa said as she clarified for him. And they're right, you should have known that, Giselle said as she entered the room. Great if it isn't the head bee, B said with a grin as she wanted a piece of her or many after she ripped her apart. I'm the top student in the beginning, yeah, who cares? Giselle was saying before Naruto interrupted her. You maybe claim that you're helping your fellow students but all I see is one hell of a conceited bee, Naruto said as Pikachu, Charmeleon, and Scyther readied themselves. Well aren't you cute, Giselle said making everyone face vault. Yeah and a whole lot of aggression, B said to her as Naruto would eat her alive. So how about we make this fast 3-on-3, Naruto said to her in a neutral tone containing his anger and frustration. Okay but let's take it outside, Giselle said, your Pikachu is cute, I'm surprised a rookie caught a Scyther and I'm surprised your Charmeleon even listens to you, she said to him. Scyther and Charmeleon growl at her as Pikachu calmed down as he liked being called cute. And I'm surprised any Pokemon listens to your bee Peach, Naruto said making them and his Pokemon laugh. Sigh. His Psyduck said as it tilted its head. Psyduck get back in your ball already, Naruto said returning him. Few minutes later. Okay Ms. Best Beginner Class, I'm waiting, Naruto said as Pikachu's cheeks sparked eager for battle. Alright, Giselle said as a Cubone, Doduo, and Jinx came out. Oh man this will end horribly for her, Nessa said smirking a little. Well you gonna start or you gonna have your HRM of fanboys fight for you? Naruto asked as a lot of guys lined up for her. You're pretty confident for a boy that'll lose, Giselle said confidently. And you're pretty bitchy for a schoolgirl, guess the short skirt is to match you perfectly. You know if you started as well as you keep bragging then maybe we'd see who's the better. Now bring it lady or are you too chicken? Naruto asked mocking her. Pikachu began hopping around acting like a chicken. Cubone use Zen headbutt, Giselle said after her eyebrow twitched. Pikachu use Iron Tail, Naruto said to him simply. The two Pokemon clashed literally testing which was stronger before Cubone got sent back. Pikachu can learn Iron Tail? Giselle asked. Yep Electric Rock and Ice types can usually learn Steel type moves. What's wrong I thought you'd knew that, Naruto said tauntingly giving her the same treatment she gave to others. Go Doduo, Giselle said sending her next Pokemon. Scyther, Naruto said as Scyther was ready. Pikachu walked back and gave the bug type a sort of high five as they passed each other. Scyther said raring to go. A flying type versus bug type, this should be easy, Giselle said confident in her victory. Swords dance, then use slash, Naruto said simply. Scyther swung his sword arms around as they glowed before her charged at the Doduo and cut it. The twin-headed bird Pokemon then just dropped to the ground knocked out. He took out two of her Pokemon using only one hit, one of the boys behind Giselle said. Go Jinx, I'll have you know I put her through training to handle fire types, Giselle said. Go Charmeleon and use Dragon Rage, Naruto said as Charmeleon smiled as it opened his mouth and smiled as green flames left his mouth. Jinx let out a puff of smoke but was still standing. Yes, Giselle said as she was glad she survived that. Okay, I'm impressed Charmeleon used Dragon Claw, Naruto said. To everyone's surprise Jinx caught it. Wow, B said amazed that Jinx could do that. Use Confusion Ray, Giselle said shooting a beam at Charmeleon. Use Fire Punch buddy, Naruto said to him. Charmeleon smirked and ignited his fist and punched Jinx in the face knocking her out. Wow, all of the students said. What did you expect? His dad is the regional champ Red after all, Misty said making some of the students look like they were having a heart attack. I swear all of you should be ashamed you're here to learn, not be spoiled douches. I mean ranking each other, being mean to one another. You all wouldn't last a second against a real trainer, Naruto said as he had never seen a more worse example for trainers in his life. I agree with you, young man, a man said approaching them. It's the principal, Joe said whispering to the others. As a token of thanks for teaching my students how the real world works, I humbly ask that you take care of this jinx for me, the principal said referring to the one Giselle had. Using the school's Pokémon for official battles is prohibited, Joe said to him as that was a major rule. Figures she'd use a Pokémon she didn't catch herself, B mumbled under her breath. So Jinx wanna get with me and get stronger? Naruto asked her with a smile, always willing to accept a new member into his family. Jinx rushed over and hugged him. Calm down girl, Naruto said as Jinx was squeezing him to death and smiled as this would be his first Pokémon that was a psychic type. I hope all of you learn from this experience, Nessa said to the students getting a lot of nods. Well, we should probably be hitting the road again, Naruto said just as Jinx's Pokeball shot to Professor Oak's lab. 2 days later. I'm telling you all we're lost, Naruto said as they were walking in the grass. Some shortcut beat, Misty said sarcastically as this was a fine mess. Well, excuse me, I didn't think it'd go this long, B said in her defense. Okay, Spiro, get on out and take a look around, Naruto said releasing his Pokémon who flew off to scan the general area to give them a sense of where they could be. And while it looks, let's rest, Misty said as she laid against a tree. Yeah, get on out, everybody and take a stretch, Naruto said as Kurama, Pikachu, Gyarados, Metapod and Kakuna stretched. Kakuna, I thought it was still a Weedle, Misty asked as the bugs were in their chrysalis state of evolution. He evolved into a Kakuna at Oak's Ranch, same with Caterpie as she evolved into Metapod, Naruto said as he picked the cocoon Pokemon up. Must SCK not being able to really move he asked them as being restrained like that must have been torture. Kakuna said nodding as it desired to move and be free. Naruto looked behind him to see a Oddish drinking from a small pond. It's so cute, I want it, Misty said finding the little patch of grass with feet cute. But it's a Oddish, it's a grass type, Naruto said to her as she was fixated on water type Pokemon. Besides I don't think B was saying until Misty called out her Starmie, you should fight it, she finished sighing laughing a little as she knew this is what she'd do if she saw a fighting type so she laughed at the irony. Go Starmie, use water gun, Misty said to her Pokemon. Starmie grunted as it shot the attack at the unsuspecting Pokemon knocking the poor thing out. But when Misty threw a Pokeball a vine shot up and smacked the Pokeball back smacking her in the head. Where did that get from? B asked as that was a great deflection shot using another attack. A small bluish-green Pokemon with a plant bulb on its back with red eyes and white pupils came out of the grass growling at them. Wow, it's a Bulbasaur, Naruto said as he helped Professor Oak with hundreds of these. I hope the one I helped raise last is doing okay, he thought thinking back to the Bulbasaur he helped Professor Oak prepare for its new trainer. Bulbasaur, it bears the seed of a plant on its back from BRTH. The seed slowly develops. Researchers are unsure whether to classify Bulbasaur as a plant or animal. Bulbasaur are extremely calm and are difficult to capture in the wild, Naruto's Pokédex said. I thought you could only get a Bulbasaur as a starter, so what's a wild one doing out here? Nessa asked as these Pokemon were usually found and raised and breed even. Before anyone could think of an answer the Bulbasaur ran off with the Oddish. Hey wait, Misty said as she recalled her Starmie and gave chase with the others following behind. Few minutes later. I don't know if we should trust this bridge, Naruto said as they came up to a bridge. Kurama growled at it, not liking it either as it seemed unstable in his opinion and felt they were lead here on purpose. Tell that to MS. Determined to catch that Oddish, B said as they slowly made their way across it. Now's not the time to fight, Naruto said as he was hating this bridge. Snap. It did not just do what I think it did it? B asked in worry. This thing's about to break. Naruto said as he looked up to see his Spiro. Just then one part of the bridge broke making it fall on its side making B fall. Spiro shot down and grabbed her by the hand and used everything it had to keep her out of the raging river below even though she was much bigger than it. "Come on," Naruto said as he got Garudou's Pokeball and unleashed the water dragon as they all fell in. Garudou's roared as it caught them all with its serpent-like body. Which was just in time as Spiro ran out of juice and it was beginning to fall with B. "Next time we see an old bridge we're flying over it," Nessa said in a tone that basically said, non-negotiable. "Agreed," Naruto said as he didn't want to risk it again. Few minutes later. "Okay, who's the ass who made all of these DMN traps?" Naruto asked no one in particular as for the 5th time he's poked the ground with a stick to reveal another pit trap. "It's like someone's trying to keep Pokemon trainers out," Misty said. "Not Team Rocket, then this seems a little too low tech," Naruto said as all the traps were man-made. "Besides we'd be able to tell if they did, they're not very bright as these are the kinda traps they'd fall for," B said, not having a high opinion of them. "Are they really that dumb?" Nessa asked curiously as she hadn't encountered the group. "Yep, and really persistent," Misty said as that was how they were. "Yeah, we send them flying and they just keep coming back for more," B said, already ready for when they'd show their faces. "Hey look, a hut," Naruto said, pointing ahead to see a woman with blue hair tied into a ponytail with a bow and wearing red overalls. "Oh, I thought I heard the traps go off, are you okay?" the woman asked as she got up from feeding a group of Pokemon. "Lady, you better have a DMN good reason for all those pitfalls and net traps," Naruto said. "Hello, my name is Melanie, and I made those traps to keep trainers away from the village," Melanie said to them as that was the sole purpose. "Figured that, but why?" B asked, wanting to know her reason for doing that. "There are so many injured Pokemon, I take care of those that get abandoned or are hurt until they feel better so they can return to the wild," Melanie said. "Okay, I love this place," Naruto said with a smirk as he liked this place a lot now. "Also your bridge is gone," he said, not knowing if that was a real bridge or trap. "I know that was one of my traps," Melanie said simply. "Well, you're lucky it didn't kill us," Nessa said as that trap was a bit of literal overkill. "I'm sorry, nobody usually gets to the bridge," Melanie said to them. "Well, since we're here, mind if we help out?" "I promise we won't catch any of them," Naruto asked her, giving her his word. "Thank you, I could use a hand or two with some of the Pokemon around here," Melanie said as she'd appreciate the help. "Well, let's get started," Naruto said to everyone. Few minutes later. "When did you know how to give massages?" Misty asked Naruto, who was currently massaging a Slowpoke's head to help with its headaches. "Trust me, I know how to give them to anyone and Pokemon like them in certain spots," Naruto said. Slowpoke said, enjoying its message. "See, psychic Pokemon or Pokemon that can use a lot of psychic moves tend to get headaches a lot, so it's important to give them a massage to help them relax and relieve tension in their heads," Naruto said, as the strongest muscle for anyone was usually the brain and heart, but psychic types rely on their brain for much. "So that's why you're always massaging your Psyduck's head when you have it," B said, as she always thought it was to calm him down as Psyducks had explosive tempers when they were incredibly stressed. Misty saw the same oddish from before and walked over to apologize to it. As Naruto saw the oddish wiped away a tear from Misty's eye, Bulbasaur came out and tackled Misty. "Hey, what did you do that for?" Misty said angrily as that hurt. "I have to apologize, you see this Bulbasaur was abandoned by its trainer, so he's taken it as his job to protect the Pokemon of this village. He doesn't trust any Pokemon trainer," Melanie said. "Hold on a second," Naruto said as he kneeled before it. Bulbasaur said as it showed its chin, revealing a small scar. "Bulby?" Naruto asked as he knew this Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur said as it happily tackled him. "You know him?" Melanie asked in surprise as it had been here for years. "My mom called him Bulby, I used to help Oak out with raising the Pokemon. He has a scar on his chin, so I know that it's him as he got it when we accidentally knocked over one of Oak's cabinets playing. Didn't we, buddy?" Naruto said as he scratched Bulbasaur's neck. Bulbasaur said, smiling happily, remembering those simpler times. You've gotten a lot bigger since the last time I saw you, Naruto said as he petted him. What a weird coincidence to run into him out here, Nessa said as it was literally 1 in a million. Can't believe your trainer would abandon you, Naruto said angrily wondering if Oak still had those logs from way back when. Suddenly Kurama began growling as he looked up to the sky. Ugh, these guys, B said as Team Rocket showed up on some hovercraft and began to recite their stupid motto again. I swear, don't you people have anything better to do than follow us around? Misty asked them wondering what was so special about them that they needed their own stalkers. Yeah, go stalk someone else for a change, B said as she was tired of this. Oh quiet foot girl, Meowth said. Get a little closer and I'll show you what these feet can do, Tomcat, B said raising her foot high ready to smash his teeth. Jessie pushed a button and out came a tube that began eating everything in like a vacuum. Metapod, Kakuna, try and gum it up with string shot, Naruto said as that was the ability both of them knew in that form. Pod/Kuna, both cocoon Pokemon said as they began shooting webbing into the vacuum. Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur said as it began shooting seeds into the vacuum making some plants stick out of it. That was Leech Seed, Naruto said recognizing the attack. Gah, our super vac is all gone out. Meowth said in worry as it began to heat up and smoke. It's gonna blow. Cassidy said in worry and panic as this was not ideal. Suddenly their machine exploded sending them flying. And after finally getting past all those traps. Jessie said in frustration. I told you, we should have just made the machine, Meowth said in exhaustion. Team Rocket's blasting off again. The trio said as their voices got quieter as they flew away leaving a twinkle from where they were shot at. Everyone cheered but then silences as light began to come out of Metapod and Kakuna. They all watched as a green-eyed, pink-limbed Butterfree came out of Metapod as a green-blue-eyed Beedrill came out of Kakuna. Free/Drill, the newly evolved Pokemon said. This is a new one, Naruto said as they sped through their evolutions. Well, bug types tend to evolve faster than normal Pokemon, Nessa said as she had seen water and bug types evolve. Naruto looked down to see Bulbasaur nudging his leg looking up at him. What's up? Wanna come along? Naruto asked Bulbasaur getting a nod from him then from Melanie. Take him, with him here the Pokemon have been seeing this as a safe place. They have to return to the wild. Where they belong, they shouldn't remain here forever. They should return to the wild but it's been too safe here so they don't want to leave, Melanie said as she was happy Bulbasaur wanted to leave and would dearly miss him for all that he's done. I can understand that, Naruto said as the Pokemon needed to go back to the wild where they belong but didn't because of the safety of the village and Bulbasaur protecting them. Naruto grabbed a Pokeball and patted Bulbasaur on the head with it, pulling him into it. Sorry Spearow, but I'm gonna work with Bulbasaur a little, Naruto said as he chose to keep Bulbasaur with him and sent Spearow to Oaks. Misty then saw as Oddish rubbing against her leg happily. Looks like she wants to go with you, B said finding it cute. Is that true Oddish, do you want to get along with me? Misty asked. Nessa looked down to see Slowpoke nudging her leg. Slow. Slowpoke said looking up at her curiously and began rubbing against her. Aw, Nessa said as she rubbed his head in a similar manner to the way Naruto was doing earlier. Guess he wants to go with you, Naruto said as he looked at Melanie who nodded as long as it was okay with Slowpoke. Doesn't this Pokemon have special requirements to evolve? Misty asked as she knew a lot about this water types and a few of them need certain things like scales or stones to truly evolve. Well, they say Slowpoke evolve into Slowbro when a Shelder bites their tail, Naruto said as he pulls up the info on his Pokédex. Well, in Galar, the Slowpokes have yellow on their heads, are just psychic types and to evolve them you have to give them a Galarica cuff, then a Shelder bites their hand, B said. Freaky, okay here's another evolution, Slowking, Naruto said pulling up a picture of it. Slowpoke, Slowpoke said rather liking the picture of Slowking. To get one you need a King's Rock, hold on I think I have one, Naruto said as he actually did carry a select few items to help Pokemon evolve like an evolution stones and dragon scales. Naruto pulled one out and placed it on Slowpoke's head. slow. Slowpoke said, tilting its head as nothing happened. Are we missing anything else? Nessa asked as she read Pokémon also needed to be in certain environments to evolve. Slowpoke hit its head on a tree and stood up and began glowing. Guess he needed a few moments, Nessa said out loud as they shielded their eyes. Slowking said as he stood proudly. Slowking, the royal Pokémon. This Pokémon is so famed for its intellect that a proverb still persists in some regions: when in doubt, ask Slowking. Naruto's Pokédex said. Wow, he's certainly wise, B said, a little impressed by how wise the Pokémon was. Slowking said, smiling as he blushed slightly. Next few days. You know, I have never met more unruly Pokémon than you, Naruto said as he carried a small Charmander through the rain. Few minutes later. What's Charmeleon doing? Nessa asked, not having much experience with fire types, and saw that Charmeleon was touching his flaming tail with the Charmanders. They're sharing fire. Charmanders and their evolved forms do this as their fire is their life force, Naruto said, proud that his Pokémon was doing this. It's also a way to establish a bond between this Pokémon as father and son, as brothers, or just as best friends. This is sacred, he said, as the flame sharing was equivalent to the pact for being BLD brothers. Charmander said as he felt better. Chameleon said, rubbing his previous evolution's head. Whoa, is that a fire? A person inside the center said, seeing a bright light in the distance. How many fire types are left out here? Naruto asked in frustration as he went back outside. And just like that he gets even hotter, B said, getting nods from the other two girls in her group. Few minutes later. What the hell? Naruto said as he made it to the still burning tree, and when he got there he saw a small bird-like Pokémon with one of its wings under a branch struggling to get free, shooting embers out. This will not be fun. Actually a little thankful for the rain, he thought, as ember may have been the most basic move a fire type could learn. It was still hot. I think this is a Torchic, he thought as he believed he had seen the Pokémon in a book. Torchic said as it looked at Naruto and panicked slightly, not knowing if he was a threat. Wait, hold on, I have medicine, Naruto said, trying to calm the combustible bird down. He gently lifted the branch and saw that Torchic's wing has been broken. CRP, even with the potion this take a few days to heal without treatment, he thought, as he needed for Torchic to either be able to climb on his shoulder or he'd have to carry the Pokémon. Can you stand up? He asked the Pokémon. Torchic struggled, using its only remaining wing to push itself off the ground and climb on top of Naruto's shoulder. Few minutes later. Ah, B said as she saw Torchic peck anyone who got near. I feel like I need to ask, is anything violent something she enjoys? Nessa asked Naruto and Misty, getting nods. Hey you, B said as she got close to Torchic. Torchic sniffed her hand. You grow up to be awesome, B said as when Torchic evolves it becomes a fighting type, a really good one. Her x-rays look fine, she had a clean break, she'll be fine in a couple days, Nurse Joy said to the group. Awesome, and when you're all better you wanna join me? B asked the small flaming bird. Torchic just climbed on her shoulder and immediately started to peck BEA's face. That's something I won't forget, Misty said as that was a little funny. Misty then screamed as Torchic jumped on her and began pecking her face. Oh man, Nessa said as she laughed, one reason why I avoid birds, they peck, she said. Nessa then grunted as Torchic headbutted her. Would you stop attacking everyone? Naruto asked the bird, who then tried to perform jump kick. It's like it thinks it's a combustion, B said as she then screamed as it pecked her face again. I wish she'd calm down before she makes its wing any worse than it already is, Naruto said in concern. Okay little miss, you wanna join my team? B asked her curiously, smiling despite all the peck marks on her face. Torchic tilted her head curiously. I specialize in fighting types, so if you and I train you'll definitely be a Blaziken, she said proudly. Torchic then gained stars in its eyes before she went back to pecking. Catch her already, Nessa said as the small bird was pecking her face. Should she, with Torchic's wing being busted? Naruto asked her, not knowing what the condition of the Pokémon would be with a broken bone. Are you telling me we have to deal with this for days? Misty said angrily as she didn't like to be pecked repeatedly. Torchic panted before slumping. Who could have abandoned this Torchic and that Charmander anyway? Naruto asked as that was sick as Torchics couldn't stand this weather and Charmanders would have died. They looked over to see a group of teens around the fire talking to some guy with blue hair and sunglasses on his head. Just look at them. It's a pretty cool collection, the guy said smugly. Hey Damien, didn't you have a Charmander and a Torchic? A guy with spiky hair asked him. Yeah, I had one but the Charmander was so weak and all that stupid Torchic would do is just peck me the entire time, so I left the Charmander on a rock by promising I'd come back for it and just left the Torchic in someplace tied to a tree, Damien said. Naruto got up, walked over to the man and picked him up and threw him outside. See how you like it being left and abandoned out. In the rain he said as he locked the teen out, hoping karma gave what was coming to the man, as what he did was nothing and went to go phone Oak after threatening the man's friends to give him a name. Damien smirked as he held up an umbrella before he got struck by lightning. Damien then coughed a puff of smoke and dropped. Wow, karma is real, Nessa said happily. Now hopefully his Pokemon will go to trainers that will actually care for them, Naruto said as he saw the table that had all of Damien's Pokeballs. I thought a trainer could only carry 6, what's this 16? B said, counting all of Damien's Pokeballs. Yep, thank you Karma, Naruto said as lightning struck at that exact moment. A Pokeball fell to the ground, opening up and releasing a Growlithe, a very poor and underfed Growlithe. And look at this poor guy, he's just skin and bones. Oh look at him, he's shaking like a leaf, B said. I'm gonna kill that douchebag, she said, furious to see a Pokemon in such a condition. Get in line, Misty said as she wanted a piece of that. Naruto put some Pokemon food in his hand and stretched it out to the Growlithe, who backed away. It's okay, I'm not gonna hurt you, he said gently. Kurama and Pikachu talked to Growlithe, vouching for Naruto. Misty opened one up and a Poliwhirl came out, also looking like skin and bones. Nessa opened one and out came a Totodile, which was in bad shape as it was skin and bones and its teeth looked real bad. B opened one up that had a question mark on it and was surprised to find it was a Hawlucha. How could anyone let their Pokemon be in this bad of shape? I mean, look at this poor Totodile, its teeth are so bad it looks like it's suffering, Nessa said, as Totodiles are usually known to be energetic and bouncing around, but this one looked like it had no energy at all. And this Hawlucha looks like it can barely lift an arm, let alone walk, B said in worry and concern. And this poor Poliwhirl, Misty said in sadness, seeing a water Pokemon in such bad shape. Nurse Joy soon came out and saw the terrible state of the Pokemon. Whose Pokemon are these? She asked in a not too sweet tone that honestly scared everyone. His, they all said, pointing outside at a soaked Damien knocking on the door. Let me in and give me back my Pokemon, Damien said before he got struck by lightning again. Either that's karma or Arceus is at work, Naruto said as he watched Nurse Joy answer, and soon everyone witnessed something intense, seen something they all thought Nurse Joy wasn't capable of. Damien laid outside knocked out before once again getting struck by lightning. Okay, seriously, either he's having the worst of luck or Arceus is actually punishing this creep, Naruto said, as to get struck by lightning 3 times was a little much. Pikachu moved back slightly, acting innocent, and had a Cheshire grin on his face. Nice one buddy, Naruto said as he and Pikachu fist bump. The next day, everyone had a proud smirk on their faces seeing Damien get tossed into the back of a cop car by Officer Jenny. Thanks Naruto, Jenny said, sending him a wink. Always a pleasure, Naruto said with a smile, returning the wink. Everyone waved goodbye to Damien as the cop car drove off. I'm proud to say that Charmander and Torchic along with the other Pokemon have made a full recovery though, Nurse Joy said, looking at Growlithe, who still looked scared of everything. Naruto walked over and hugged it, hearing it whimper a little in fear, making Naruto angry as he was not angry at Growlithe, just at what had happened to him to make him like this. Naruto then began to slowly pet Growlithe, making the puppy Pokemon relax in his arms. Nessa laughed as Totodile jumped around kicking its legs in pure joy, happy to have its teeth fixed, which were now shiny white. Lucha, Lucha, Hawlucha, Hawlucha said as it flexed its muscles, posing in joy. Poliwhirl, Poliwhirl said happily to be feeling better. Our lives are crazy, Nessa said as she wouldn't have it any other way. Charmander said happily as it ran into the room showing its tail at full flame again. Torchic ran in and tackled Bee to the ground flapping her tiny wings happily at the feeling of doing so again. Back in action, Bee said happily and was then being pecked again getting laughs from the others. I swear it's like that's the only thing it knows how to do to show affection, Naruto said. Charmeleon smiled as he and Charmander patted their tails together before rubbing Charmander's head. Ah, Charmander is looking at Charmeleon like he's his daddy, Misty said. Charmander and Charmeleon looked at her before blasting her with a flamethrower. Word of advice: Charmanders and their evolutions are very proud. Their relationships are the kind better left unsaid, Naruto said to her as this Pokemon was prideful. Misty coughed a puff of smoke. Noted, she said groaning. You know when you get used to it the pecks aren't so bad, Bee said with a smile on her face. There is something very wrong with our partners, Nessa said laughing before groaning in pain when Totodile nipped her finger. Somebody's happy to use their teeth again, Misty said as the Pokemon couldn't stop biting things now that its teeth got fixed. Well, on the road again we go, Naruto said as they began walking again. Few days later. Naruto smiled as Riolu hopped in front of the group like a child just having fun. Kurama's ears twitched as he tackled Riolu down just before a hole in the ground came up. Okay, when are people gonna realize we're not stupid enough to fall for these? Naruto asked no one in particular as they looked down it, and what is with traps and people? I mean come on, he said as a lot of people had been doing them and he was wondering why. The group looked in front of them to see a group of 5 Squirtle, 4 had round glasses and 1 had pointed dark sunglasses. Of course, the next Pokemon we run into is Squirtle, Naruto said as this was becoming a thing. Pikachu said to them. Naruto's attention was to Riolu who was crying as Kurama looked at the Pokemon before growling at the team of Squirtless. Yeah, you're really strong and tough, making a newborn Pokemon cry, you 5 should be ashamed of yourselves, Naruto said as he picked up Riolu to calm him down. Squirtle, SQR, Squirtle, the boss Squirtle said to him. Oh, how dare you bring my mom into this? Kurama sick, Naruto said making the Vulpix growl in satisfaction. Squirtle. Squirtle said thinking this'd be an easy win. Knock that smug look off his face with energy ball, Misty said as Kurama would not lose. Kurama used overheat instead making all the Squirtless fall back losing to the element they were supposed to be stronger than. Suddenly a siren came into focus making the Squirtless jump up and run away. Starting to see why Gary has a Squirtle, Naruto said, you're okay Riolu, he said calming the Pokemon down, don't do it, he said seeing the gleam in Pikachu's eyes to use an electric-type move. Officer Jenny rolled up on her bike. Anyone hurt? Is everyone okay? She asked. Well, besides a scared Pokemon, we're alright, Misty said. And a bit confused about the Squirtle welcoming committee, Naruto said wondering why or how this happened. Come with me into town, and I'll explain, Jenny said as she looked over the Pokemon. Few minutes later. That Pokemon gang you dealt with is called the Squirtle Squad, Jenny said informing him. Never heard of a Pokemon gang before, Naruto said as this was a first. Wait, why are they even out here all alone? I thought all starter Pokemon were usually caught and kept in labs, Naruto asked her. They were all deserted by their Pokemon trainers, Jenny said sadly. Deserted? Misty asked. They don't have trainers so they just run wild and play tricks on the whole town, Jenny said as she could understand it as their way of lashing out. Abandoning any Pokemon for any reason is horrible, Bee said. When you stop and think about it, the Squirtle Squad are just looking out for each other because of their similar pasts. Naruto said as he closed his eyes, when a Pokemon is abandoned by their trainer they take it really hard, especially if that Pokemon is a starter. They were bred to be given to trainers when they start their journey, to bond with them, train, and grow together. Going through all that then suddenly getting tossed aside because the Pokemon feels a certain way or the trainer doesn't want to raise it anymore, you can't really blame the Squirtle Squad for acting the way they do. Because they're still hurting. He stared out the window staring at the clouds as he explained this. Well, that was deep, Nessa said as she felt bad for them. I kinda want one now, Misty said to them, getting a nod from Nessa. I'd very much rather have trainers catch them rather than what the townsfolk may do. They're furious about the Squirtless playing their jokes and stealing food. I'm afraid if something isn't done they may kill them, Jenny said as it was getting to the point where Jenny couldn't do anything as there are savage Pokemon or Pokemon that need to be put down for their aggressive behavior. That's never going to happen, let us try, Naruto said as he'd die if he just let a Pokemon get killed when he could do something to prevent it. Yeah, let us try at least, Misty said as she wanted in. I'll stay here to help in any way I can, B said as Joy and Jenny looked like they need it. Some time later. Come on, show up one of you glasses wearing turtles, Naruto said as he had his fishing rod out in the water. When he felt a tug on his line he, Misty, Nessa, Kurama, Pikachu and Riolu found themselves soaked. The Squirtle laughed at them as it jumped onto the road. Get him, then maybe we can get him to lead us back to their boss, Naruto said to his Pokemon. Pikachu and Kurama ran at the Squirtle who jumped up and tucked its limbs into its shell as it spun and slammed into them, sending them into the river. Not too far away Goldeen jumped up swimming towards the two Pokemon. Goldeen, watch out for its horn, Misty said as all Goldeen knew horn attacks. SHT Pikachu, Kurama, get out of there. Naruto said in urgency, wanting his Pokemon to move. Pikachu and Kurama swam as fast as they could, but it wasn't enough as the Goldeen came from below attacking them with their horns, sending them onto the shore. No. Naruto said before he found himself tied up along with Misty and Nessa by the other Squirtle as their boss watched. Meowth came from behind a tree laughing, sorry, but you're not gonna Squirtle out of this one, he said, still laughing. Few minutes later. I'm the Pokemon in charge around here. Just wait until my human pets come back, Meowth said, laughing tauntingly at Naruto as he poked him with his tail before Naruto bit it. Meowth screamed in pain as he shot upward. You can't believe a word that comes out of that cat's mouth, Naruto said to the Squirtless. Yeah, Team Rocket's just trying to trick all of you into doing their dirty work because they're too incompetent to do it themselves, Nessa said to them. The Squirtle seemed to contemplate that for a moment. Shut it. Meowth said as he scratched them, but when he got to Naruto, Naruto leaned to the side making Meowth scratch the rock they were tied to, causing him to break a nail, OW. Anyways, ow, who are you gonna believe? A human or a fellow Pokemon, he asked them. Nessa looked over to see Pikachu and Kurama in cages panting slightly. Naruto, they're not looking too good, she said. If we had some super potion we could heal them, Misty said as they really needed some. I remember in town there's a shop that sells it, Naruto said. Squirtle Squad, please, you've got to let me go into town. If I don't get them the medicine, Kurama and Pikachu could die, he said. Squirtle. 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 The boss Squirtle said, shaking its head. They know you humans are just trying to get away, Meowth said, translating. You're willing to let other Pokemon suffer for your beliefs. Naruto asked them angrily, I promise I'll come back, and I always keep my promises. SQR, Squirtle, the boss Squirtle said. He said, he's heard that promise from his old trainer, he said he'd come back but never did. Who's to say you won't try to just escape? Meowth said, translating. I swear you and Charmander would get along, Naruto said as this was exactly like his Charmander. Please, I'm begging you. Please, he said as he began to shed tears. Squirtle watched the tear drop and looked over at the injured Pikachu and Kurama. Squirtle. SQR, Squirtle, the boss Squirtle said. Huh. He said okay, but if you don't come back by noon tomorrow the redhead is getting her hair turned purple, Meowth translated. Purple. Why you mangy little flea trap? Misty said angrily. I'll be back, when Naruto Uzumaki makes a promise, he keeps his word. Naruto said firmly and proudly. SQR, the boss Squirtle said, astonished and amazed by how much heart this human had compared to the trainers that abandoned him and his team. Naruto raced out of the cave. Good luck, Misty said, you touch my hair and it'll be the last thing you do, she said, glaring at the Squirtless. The boss Squirtle lowered his shades and gave her a wink, chuckling. I think he was only kidding. Look, Nessa said as the other Squirtlets gave Pikachu and Kurama citrus berries to keep their strength up. Well, you're out of luck. Your friend has 4 Pokemon. Jessie and Cassidy have 6 each. Your friend ain't got a chance, Meowth said. When did they get good enough to actually catch more Pokemon? Misty asked as she hoped Naruto would be alright with those kinda odds. I'm surprised they're good enough to catch one, Nessa said as she didn't think they had it in them. Hey, that's Team Rocket you're insulting, Meowth said, almost hissing at her. Yeah, and? If you're all so good, then how come you haven't managed to beat us in a battle or even get us in one of your ridiculous traps or weird machines? Nessa asked. How do you manage to build those crazy things anyway? Misty asked, finding it weird they could do this in an instant. Because we're just that good. Meowth said as he stuttered, then looked away. You could barely finish that sentence, Misty and Nessa said plainly, as it sounded like not even he knew. With Naruto. You ain't getting me this time, rickety bridge, Naruto said as he had Pidgeotto flying him over the old-looking bridge before dropping him on the other side before he started running again. Stop right there, Cassidy said as she and Jessie blocked him. I don't have time for your DMN stupid motto, get the hell out of my way. Naruto said as he brought out Charmeleon, who instantly fired at them. Gyarados. Jessie said as the Pokemon attacked using Hydro Pump. How in the hell did someone like you catch a Gyarados? Naruto asked in surprise. I'm skilled, Jessie said, running her fingers through her hair. Yeah, skilled at running your big mouth, Naruto said to her tauntingly. Hey twerp, nobody gets to insult her but me, Cassidy said a little heatedly. The only twerps around here are you two, Naruto said to them as he didn't have time for this. Charmeleon growled as steam rolled off its body. Not good, Naruto thought as Gyarados were wild and aggressive. It was not wise to underestimate them. Here's another helping, Cassidy said as she sent out a Agron. Okay, where's people like you getting these Pokemon, because you actually have to have skill to catch them, Naruto asked as these were fully evolved Pokemon. We have skill. Jessie and Cassidy said. Yeah, as much as a sleeping Snorlax, Naruto said, laughing at that joke. Jessie and Cassidy looked, seeing Gyarados and Agron chuckling as well. Anyway, I have to go, Pikachu and Kurama need a super potion, otherwise they could die. Now get the hell out of our way. Naruto said as he brought out Pidgeotto and he used Twister while Charmeleon used Overheat. Gyarados Hydro Pump, Jessie said to him. Agron Smackdown, Cassidy said. Gur, get the F out of our way. Naruto shouted as he didn't have time for this. Charmeleon snarled as his eyes turned red as he got back up, steaming as the water was evaporating off his body. Char! Charmeleon roared as he was engulfed in flames that shot upward. Jessie and Cassidy blocked their eyes to shield themselves from the light. Two glowing red eyes came through the flames, followed by black and red wings that sent the flames away, as in Charmeleon's place was a Charizard. Roar! The newly evolved Charizard roared, shaking the very ground itself. Oh man, you are all so very screwed. Okay Charizard, show that Gyarados what you got with Thunder Punch. Naruto said. Electricity surged around Charizard's fist as he shot into the air in breakneck speed, as slammed his fist right into Gyarados' face, sending the atrocious Pokemon flying back. Take this on BRT, Cassidy said as she threw out her other 5 Pokemon along with Jessie. SHT, Naruto thought as he only had Riolu and Jinx, and while they had Ekans, a Coughing, a Victreebel, a Cacnea, a Growlithe, a Charizard, a Drowzee, a Houndour, a Mytyana, and a Primeape. Charizard roared, making all the Pokemon back off a step as he grabbed Gyarados by the tail and tossed it right into the other Pokemon. Okay Jinx, go and use Frost Breath, Naruto said. As soon as Jinx left her Pokeball, she took a deep breath and sent a wave of freezing air at the group of Pokemon, freezing them. Gyarados soon broke free, but as he approached the enemy Pokemon he was hit with a Force Palm courtesy of Riolu. Okay Charizard, send them flying with Hurricane. Naruto said. Roar, roar. Charizard roared as he flapped his wings, creating hurricane force winds that sent Team Rocket flying. Team Rocket's blasting off again. Jessie and Cassidy said as they shot off through the air. Charizard roared in victory as he shot flames into the sky. Enough celebrating, we gotta go, Naruto said as he hopped on Charizard's back and he flew him to town. Few minutes later. We're back, Naruto said as they made it back. Charizard glared and growled at Meowth. Whoa, Charmeleon evolved, Nessa said amazed by the sight as he was very large even by Charizard's standards. Never thought I'd ever see a black Charizard, Misty said as he looked very cool. I see your hair's still the same, Naruto said, cracking a joke to lighten the mood. Yeah, the Squirtle Squad was bluffing they play tricks, but they'd never mess with a woman's natural hair color, and they'd been giving Pikachu and Kurama citrus berries to keep their strength up, Misty said. The boss Squirtle chuckled as it rubbed its nose. Okay, those will work fine, Naruto said to them as he fell to the ground. Squirtle, SQR, the boss Squirtle said, patting him on the back. Wait, where'd Meowth go? Misty asked as Nessa sprayed the super potions on Pikachu and Kurama. Suddenly a explosion went off outside, making them all run out to investigate to see a crater that Charizard flew above, and when they looked up they saw a familiar shine and then put 2 and 2 together. Oh come on, you couldn't let me see it? Naruto asked, a little exhausted. The boss Squirtle was amazed that Naruto kept his word and came back. Then everyone began sniffing the air. Do you smell smoke? Nessa asked, then gave Charizard a look which he shook his head instantly. Fire. Naruto said as he saw the forest was starting to smoke. Everyone watched as the boss Squirtle walked outside. SQR. Squirtle shouted loudly as rain clouds began to form in the sky. Rain dance, Naruto said as that move was slightly complex for a Pokemon of that young. Hey Nessa, Misty with rain dance water Pokemon have a slight boost, give it a try, he said as the 2 water specialist could help the Pokemon. Go Poliwhirl / go Slowking, Misty and Nessa said as they had their Pokemon use water attacks to assist the Squirtless. Few minutes later. Wow. Naruto said as he was surprised the small Pokemon got so much done so quickly. Squirtle, SQR. The boss Squirtle said to the other Squirtle as they walked over to Naruto. Naruto shouted as the Squirtle Squad began tossing him up and down. Some time later. It's nice how the Squirtle Squad went from being the town's menaces to now being the town's firefighters, Misty said as they walked down the road. Squirtle. Boss Squirtle said from the distance. Everyone turned around to see the boss Squirtle running towards them. SQR, the Squirtle was trying to say as it dropped, panting, feeling exhausted from trying to catch up with them. Take a deep breath, Naruto said as they waited a few moments. So what's up, did you want to come with us, Squirtle? He asked as he doubted it was for anything else. SQR, Squirtle said, nodding. Now I have my own Squirtle, let's see what Gary has to say about that, Naruto said as he and Squirtle high-fived. He's gonna keep the glasses? Misty asked, seeing the Pokemon adjust his shades. Where do you hide those anyway? Naruto asked him. Squirtle showed them by taking them off and putting them into his shell. Well, he is a turtle, Naruto said as he took out a Pokeball. The Squirtle pressed a familiar red light enveloping him. Bet it'll have all the egg moves. Your Pokemon seem to have a habit of having all of their egg moves, Naruto, B said. I'm just lucky, Naruto said as he trained all his Pokemon and revived each of their attacks. No attack was worthless. There's having luck and there's having the luck of Arceus, Misty said. Few days later. Aw, he's so cute, Misty said, seeing a small Krabby. Krabby snapped its claws at her. Pretty tiny for Krabby, don't you think? Nessa asked Naruto. He is extra small in comparison to the regular sizes, Naruto said as this Krabby was a little small. Krabby looked down feeling sad as trainers always made fun of him being so small and laughed at him. Look at what you did, you hurt its feelings, Misty said, giving Naruto a look. Come here, little guy, Naruto said as the small Krabby went onto his hand. You're stronger than you look, he said as he saw there was a lot more than meets the eye with this Krabby. Krabby looked up at him wondering what he meant. It doesn't matter how small you are, but it matters just how big your heart is, and when I look at you little guy, I see courage as tall as a mountain, Naruto said as the Krabby was literally jumping in joy. What the hell is that? Naruto said as he saw a group of people and quickly saw they were picking on a small Lapras. Krabby crawled off Naruto as he went to the group and quickly did some snapping. What's your problem, Shrimpy? A man said, taunting Krabby. Krabby growled and shot the guy in the face with a water gun. I'll crush you, a man said as he was about to stomp on him, but Naruto caught the man's leg and flipped him. Careful, you almost stepped on this, Krabby, Naruto said seriously. Kurama and Pikachu growled at the group, wanting nothing more than to fry them. Whatever, let's get out of here, the man said as the group ran away. Aw, Misty said as she petted a small crying Larpaw. Have fun, Naruto said to Kurama and Pikachu. The two Pokemon grinned as they chased after the group. Igglybuff, the small pink Pokemon said as it climbed up the young Lapra's back and patted its head. That's right, Igglybuff, we're not gonna hurt you, Lapras, Nessa said, smiling a little as it was a little funny given the situation. Igglybuff hugged Lapra's neck as Lapras began glowing green. Igglybuff is using Heal Pulse, Naruto said as he recognized that move, knowing this Pokemon knew it. The small pink Pokemon didn't even seem to notice as it just smiled and hugged Lapras. Way to go, Igglybuff, Misty said as she hugged the Pokemon and hugged Lapras. Sorry, can't help you, Naruto said as Lapras didn't like the strong hug. Lapras began nudging Naruto. Whoa, hey, Naruto said as Lapras tried putting its head into his pocket. When Lapras pulled its head away, it had a cookie in its mouth. You keep cookies in your pocket? Nessa asked, finding that odd. And sometimes other snacks, Naruto said. Everyone looked as Igglybuff seemed to try to push Lapras, trying to get the Pokemon back in the water. Gyarados, Naruto said as the Pokemon came out and looked down and squirted out a gentle water gun on it, and when the Pokemon was wet and the ground beneath it, Gyarados lifted it up and put it in the water. Lapras said as it swam. Poor thing must have gotten separated from its pod, Nessa said to them as young Pokemon of the sea swam together till they matured. Igglybuff laughed and clapped as it sat on Lapra's back. Careful, Igglybuff, you're not that good a swimmer yet, Misty said as she didn't want harm to come to the small Pokemon. We can't just send that Pokemon back out to the wild, it's too young, Naruto said as they would be devoured by any Pokemon large enough to see it as food. I can take care of it, Misty said as she reached toward it. Igglybuff saw her and waved at her before it fell onto its side. Lapras swam to her and nuzzled against Misty. This is for you, Naruto said as he gave Misty an empty Pokeball. Misty picked Igglybuff off of Lapra's back. Lapras, do you want to come with me? She asked as she held out the Pokeball. Lapras looked at the ball before nudging it with its head before getting sucked into it. Yahoo! I caught a Lapras! Misty said in excitement. Igglybuff! Igglybuff said happily, seeing Misty happy. All yours, this little thing has a lot of energy, Naruto said to her. If we really hurry we can make it to Vermilion Town in the morning, Nessa said, looking at the map. Naruto whistled. Okay guys, come on. He called out to Kurama and Pikachu. Now for you, he said, looking down at Krabby. Wanna come along? He asked Krabby. Krabby poked the Pokeball Naruto held out with its claw before it got sucked in. Gotta admit, great day, Nessa said happily. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author pyrohelixdrago on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.